So clap your hands for Dolly, stomp your feet everybody, sing and cheer, let Scotland hear, we're doing it for Dolly.
Here he goes again.
Clap your hands for Dolly, stomp your feet everybody, sing and cheer, let Scotland hear, we're doing it for Dolly.
And Doddy, we are one of Scottish rugby's favourite sons.
His spirit is unbroken, his passion or his pride. It will be our victory when he is by our side. Tomorrow is a bonus point, the future is a try. We'll win this game, we'll fight this pain, he's the reason why.
The South, Edinburgh,
Glasgow,
North and Mids,
Scottish exiles.
Hello everyone from beautiful New Zealand, Happy New Year. Big Jim Hamilton and Johnny Beattie got in touch with me to ask me if I'd support the Dotty Wear Challenge for this January. I didn't even have to think twice about it because the work the great man is doing is making a huge difference to so many people around the world. So I even took it that seriously that I joined the Scottish Exiles to get as fit as I can during January to hopefully raise as much money as we can for Dotty 8. So please sign up, get involved, and I'm sure Dotty and all the Dotty 8 team will do everything they can to make a difference. So cheers Dotty, take care, and as we say in New Zealand, kia kaha.
So clap your hands for Dolly, stomp your feet everybody, sing and cheer, let Scotland hear, we're doing it for Dolly.
Here he goes again.
Clap your hands for Dolly, stomp your feet everybody, sing and cheer, let Scotland hear, we're doing it for Dolly.
And Doddy, we are one of Scottish rugby's favourite sons.
His spirit is unbroken, his passion or his pride. It will be our victory when he is by our side. Tomorrow is a bonus point, the future is a try. We'll win this game, we'll fight this pain, he's the reason why.
The South, Edinburgh,
Glasgow,
North and Mids,
Scottish exiles.
Hi everybody, just want to say the best of luck and wish you every success as you cycle your world in a day in support of Doddy Aid, supporting the great man Mr Doddy Weir in the campaign to raise awareness and funding for MND. Now, if you're looking for some musical accompaniment, perhaps some musical motivation, then why not get on Doddy Weir's very own playlist, which he recorded with me a couple of years ago. You'll hear music from the likes of Amy Macdonald, Stereophonics, and also Meatloaf, but best of all, Dignity by Deacon Blue. So, get on the bike, get the tunes on, and let's do this for Doddy Weir. Best of luck, everybody.
Hello, I'm Barbara Dixon, and I hope our heavily disguised. I'm a singer, actress, songwriter here in Scotland, and I've just run 50 miles, completed it today, for Doddy and for MND research. If you want to take part, you still have got time because it's been slightly extended by a few days. So if you wanted to cycle for 50 miles, please do and help to raise money. We're trying to get to £1 million. Please help to do that. Thank you. We're doing it for Doddy. Doing it for Doddy. Doing it for Doddy.
So clap your hands for Doddy. Stomp your feet, everybody. Sing and cheer, let Scotland hear. We're doing it for Doddy.
Here he goes again.
Clap your hands for Doddy. Stomp your feet, everybody. Sing and cheer, let Scotland hear. We're doing it for Doddy.
And Doddy Weir, one of Scottish rugby's favourite sons.
His spirit is unbroken, his passion or his pride. It will be our victory when he is by our side. Tomorrow is a bonus point, the future is a try. We'll win this game, we'll fight this pain, he's the reason why.
Morning.
The South. Edinburgh.
Glasgow.
North and Mids.
Scottish exiles.
Hello, good evening. It may only be Thursday, but I thought I'll give you the heads up what's happening this weekend. Mark Beaumont is doing around the world on Saturday. Everyone is welcome to join him. On Sunday, we've got Sir Chris Hoy, Gart Thomas and Mark Cavendish doing a virtual bike ride. And next Friday, we've got the parties of all parties, the end of Doddy 8 with some special guests. To all who's been involved in Doddy 8, thank you very much. Keep up the good work and see you all soon.
I've done a virtual riders already. Some people look like they're struggling to wake up. I know the feeling. Tell you what, this is a lie-in. We ran this event last year and it was a 4 a.m. start, so count yourself lucky. I see Daffod there nodding his head away. He's a return victim. We've got Stephen up in Dundee. We've got somebody joining us from Spain there, I think. And Rob,
Mark, I can see Davy Zoo, Edinburgh team captain on. Mel Nichols is on.
Good morning, Nashy.
Morning, guys.
Somebody up in Orkney. I realise everyone's got a different setup, so for some people it's impossible to type, whereas other people can type. It's harder as you get sweatier, obviously. But just make it work however you can. If you want to just have the banter going on in the background, that helps you, fantastic. If you want to get stuck in and join some of the conversation, you know, it's from experience, it settles down quite nicely, and it seems a bit crazy having so many people on a Zoom riding away, but it's sort of times we've run it before. It's good fun, and as I say, those that are on Zoom, that sort of runs away in the background on a separate screen. But yeah, you're absolutely more than welcome to get stuck in and join the chat during the day if you want, or if you need to, you know, focus on your miles, then everyone's got their own way of getting through it. But 240 miles, for those that haven't done it before, is a big stint. I know there's some people who are up early for doing a ride before they've got to go off and do other things. So I know there's quite a few people doing, say, a 50 miler or a century this morning, and then maybe they're coming back for more miles later on. Whatever you're planning to do today, thanks for joining the graveyard shift, the 6 a.m. start. And no, it's phenomenal to see the support for Doddy. I saw last night on the tally that the fundraisers in January so far have totaled over 870,000. So I remember chatting to Rob Wainwright, and the idea of raising £1 million seemed like an almost ridiculous target, and now it's tantalisingly possible. So phenomenal effort from everyone involved, and hopefully today's a good excuse for all the bike riders to get together and actually do some miles together.
Mark, I've been informed by the man Keith behind the scenes that we are obviously live now. So everybody, we are live to the world. So people can join in and they can watch what's going on. They'll be keeping an eye on interviews and chats throughout the day. Mark, is Rob on? Have I seen Rob yet?
Yes, he is.
Rob is here.
He's waving. He needs to shout at us, but I can see him.
He's waving. Yeah, well, as I said earlier, guys, good morning, everybody. 107 people on Zoom at the moment, and that number is rising. Throughout the day, I've been asked to say, I know nobody will swear, but there could be kids and all sorts watching throughout the day. There'll be people maybe from throughout the world watching what's going on. So I'll lead the chat on all the interviews. Mark will be dropping in and out. When we've got rugby players on, we might hear from Rob chatting to a few of the guests as well. I have said previously there's a reactions button, so I'll try and keep an eye on what's going on there. If anyone's got questions for our guests as we go throughout the day. But let's have a great day. Let's keep everyone going. There'll be chances, obviously, to unmute throughout the day when there's not guests on, and you can chat amongst yourselves as best you can. Keep each other going. But please do just sort of, this is interactive. This is for you guys, and congratulations and well done for getting up this early and getting going. It's fantastic. And led by Mark, you're on the right path to get there at the end of the day.
Compared to the last year, this is a bit of a lie. It's 4 a.m. last time.
Yeah, I don't know why we're getting soft.
Mark, what should everyone be prepared for today? What can they do now? How can they get their mind right? What do you do yourself? What have you done to prepare for this, and what's going through your mind right now?
Well, it goes without saying that 384 kilometres, 4 miles is a big old stint. I was chatting to Jamie Hugh yesterday, the Edinburgh captain, who I think said his biggest mileage day so far was 130 miles is a respectable ride, but it's a big jump up. And if you've not ridden a double century before and you are aiming to go for the full hog today, inevitably it's not something you can attack hard. You need to let those miles come to you, Endurance will come and find you, and just settle into it. Use this graveyard shift to get the legs turning, fuel really well from the start, especially because we're all indoors. You're likely, even with the best intentions, to end up super dehydrated by the end of the day. So it'll feel like you're force feeding yourself a little bit in terms of the hydration in particular, but stay on top of that and you'll find yourself in better shape by the time we get to 6, 7 o'clock this evening. But yeah, the old distraction tactics. I mean, you're not having to navigate difficult roads here. So you need to think your way through the task. You need to somehow, give yourself the milestones of the game coming up today.
Sorry, I've stopped cycling.
Ways of somehow, breaking down the day into chunks. It's a big old stint, especially this time of year. By the time you get to the summer, you might be dreaming of long endurance rides, but it's a bit weird at the end of January to be putting in a 1400, however long it takes you.
That's it, Mark, but there's no better man to lead us. If I can just remind everybody, if you're not on the chat, could you please go on to mute just so we can get the line of communication with in the chat going as smoothly as possible. But I do see Mr. Rob Wainwright is on. How are you, Rob? Good morning.
Just having some tech problems. Morning, Nashi. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
All right. I can't really hear you, so I'm just trying to sort that out. But morning all, well done on this early start. And I hope you're all feeling fresh and ready for a few hours on the bike.
If Rob can't hear us, Mark, I'll stick with you. Mark, you've done a couple of Twickenham to Murrayfield to Twickenham run. So with the match ball in previous years, what's Rob like out on the open road?
Huge fun. I mean, part of the endurance riding is having the camaraderie in the road. And I think from the rugby community, which is a huge part of what Doddy Weir is all about, when you join one of these events, there's that, constant humour and constant support. I think probably comes from, the team playing, and it's something that I've not experienced nearly so much through my career, being a cyclist, a solo cyclist, and a skier, and other sports. So it's amazing always joining these rugby boys like Rob on these events, because they've just got a brilliant way of lifting you up, supporting you over really hard miles. So it's 3 years ago now, Rob said to me, why don't we take match ball from Murrayfield to Twickenham for the Calcutta Cup? So we left Murrayfield, met the Scotland squad at Edinburgh Airport. They gave us a match ball and off we went down the road. And it wasn't quite 500 miles to go from Murrayfield to Twickenham. So we thought, well, for I would ride 500 miles, we need to add it up somehow. So it was only about 470. So I said, well, that's fine, because I've got a gig up in Stirling. So we'll go via Stirling, which on paper sounded like a great idea until we were sort of going north across the Forth Road Bridge and realising that London was that way and we still had 500 miles to go, and that felt a wee bit daft. And it was grim. We had that first night heading down through the borders and Shap Pass was one of the wildest nights I've ever spent on a bike, just weather-wise. So it was, yeah, a real test for everyone. And then you've got to go straight through the second night as well. So that was the Thursday night, the Friday night. We only got our heads down for about an hour in 2 full days riding. We arrived at Twickenham, and it was that famous match with the big Scotland comeback in the second half. Do you remember it?
Sure
So
do.
I was holding my eyes open in the first half because I've not slept for 2 days, thinking I'll just go and, that the game was over by half time, and then the second half just came to life. And despite being, in pretty poor shape, it was a day I'll always remember in terms of the game. Whether you're an England fan or a Scotland fan or just a rugby fan, it was just a phenomenal day. But to have cycled the match ball down the road with Rob was kind of the start of all this nonsense with Doddy Gump. And, it's gone from strength to strength. Rob and Russ and a few others who are on this cycle repeated the feat going the other way back up the road the year afterwards. And, in this virtual lockdown world we're in now, it's amazing to see how, actually it's not a case of, well, we can't do so much. It's actually we can do more. It's gone from a few people cycling up and down from Murrayfield to Twickenham to now 25,000 plus people getting out and getting active. So weirdly, lockdown has given Rob the opportunity to engage more people, not less people. And, that's why, as of last night, there's, over £870,000 raised since New Year's Day, which is phenomenal.
I think I'm back now. Can you hear me, Mark? Nashi?
Got you, Rob.
Yeah, we can hear you, Rob.
Excellent. Oh, well, you just, I'd like to say bringing back some happy memories. Many of them were happy from that first ride down from Murrayfield to Twickenham, and it was highs and lows. And as Mark says, a lot of the people that are here with us today appeared on that. We've got Ross Duncan, who came and helped us in this horrible shift when we set off from Stirling after Mark's little detour for his speaking engagement. And we just had horizontal sleet and rain just coming in, front right onto us. And a few lads turned up to help us on the way, Ross Duncan being one of them, who, I don't know if Ross is on the Zoom at the moment, but he's doing, we didn't set him a big enough challenge today. He's doing 24 hours. I think he's going for 1,000 miles or maybe 1,000K, I'm not sure. But there's some real crazies out there when it comes to cycling. And if I say that, they must be really crazy. But there's also lots of very normal cyclists out there, and that's really what this event's built around, is just lots and lots of people doing a bit of exercise, having a reason to get out through January. And
morning, everyone.
I suspect most of us here are slightly more serious, but through the day, I think we're going to have an awful lot of people for whom a 60-mile ride or a 40-mile ride will be a real challenge. And that's great, because that's, it's more uplifting in many ways to have someone for whom, a 40-mile ride is a major milestone, because it sets them on the path that we've all been on for a number of years, probably, and the enjoyment we can get from it. And I know you're not all on Zwift. I'm sitting on Zwift here. There's a wee group just beginning to form up here. Davy Shiv, obviously brother of Davy. Sorry, what's your brother called, Davy?
Tommy.
Tommy, yes, Tommy. Sorry, Tommy, I've ridden with you so many times. So we've got Tommy, it's a peloton of Toms. We've got Tom Leaf, who's done both the Murrayfield and Twickenham rides, forming up, and we're going through the sunny French countryside in the surreal world of Zwift, and averaging a very handsome 23 miles an hour, which won't go down well with many of you who aren't on Zwift and are probably not quite achieving that over the flat ground that we are going over. But I'm in a new setup. I've moved into the front room. I've been allowed by my wife, and I'm beginning to sweat heavily already. I'm used to being in a gun room, which has got no heating, and I may have to jump off and go and turn the fan off and start stripping layers off. Good.
Rob, can I ask? I think just as we head off and as things have progressed, have you got a wee update on Doddy? How is he at the moment? Just to sort of let everybody set the day up.
Doddy, I haven't seen Doddy because of lockdown in person for quite a wee while. But I had to go and pick a bull up earlier in the year down in the Borders, and we stopped on the way back. I think it was August, and popped in to see him. And when I'd last seen him just before the first lockdown at the Scotland-France game. And I think he'd had a really tough few months with all the attention that he creates around himself just by being who he is. And he seemed really tired. His speech was poor, and we were struggling to communicate in a very noisy Thistle Suite in Murrayfield. And you know, one gets worried about him. But then I popped in September, as I say, passing Blue Ken Farm down near Lauder, popped up, usual hospitality from Kathy, and we were still being very careful with Doddy. So it was a nice day, luckily. We sat outside. Doddy walked round and was able to get there under his own steam. He didn't go down the garden steps. He walked around. He had it all laid out. He sat down. We had a fantastic chat. And the only thing that went wrong is that Doddy and I share a love of whiskey from our rugby days. We used to well, look, we've got all day. I may as well tell you the whole story, because we used to meet up the night before a game, and we stayed at the Dalmahoy Country Club near Edinburgh. And sorry, I'm having to wipe an unusual amount of sweat off. I'm going to offend the girls here and take another layer off. We stayed in Dalmahoy the night before a game, and the main bar in Dalmahoy was full of the committee the night before a game. And I know it's slightly hard to believe that we're considering having a drink the night before a game, but one of the challenges of big matches was getting a good night's sleep the night before. You can almost hear where this is heading, can't you? And we used to go to the sports bar in the country club part of Dalmahoy, and we always had the place to ourselves. And what started with Doddy, Ian Smith and myself heading for a quiet drink actually built over the years into quite a gathering. We'd always have one whiskey, one malt whiskey, and we'd try something new every match. And we actually became a kind of whiskey club, which was called Row 19, because we flew in 1996 to New Zealand, and the game had just gone professional. And hitherto, when we flew anywhere for rugby, we were in zoo class on the plane. But rather perversely, with rugby going professional, there was far less money to spend, but they were spending it. So we were up in business class, and they had a pretty impressive Air New Zealand selection of whiskies, which we ripped through on our way out there. So our drinking club was called the Row 19, because that's the row that all the W's, and end of the alphabet, I think it was Peter, Walton, Ian Smith, Doddy Weir and myself. And excuse me. So we have the Row 19 Whiskey Club. This is a bit Ronnie Corbett-esque, this story. I do apologise. And I've got a cask at Ardnamurchan Distillery, which Doddy has a share in. And he'd never tasted it. And I'd been there recently with Mark, actually, doing some GCN stuff. I rode along with Mark for that. And he being a part of the cask, I got a sample to take to him. But what I'd forgotten, and we're talking about Doddy's health here, is that Doddy has a bit of, swallowing can be an issue, and he's had a few instances with things getting lodged and, real panic. Anyway, I handed him a very small dram in the garden at his house when we popped in. What I'd forgotten was that it was 67% alcohol. And he took one sip, and it all went badly wrong. I spoke to him a day later, and he was still struggling to breathe and swallow properly. So we have to be very careful with Doddy and strong whiskey. But I'm very much hoping that we can get him up. He's not visited his barrel yet, and that would be a real excitement to take him up there and maybe water it down a wee bit more this time.
Some man, isn't he? He's some man.
Rob, some man.
I think we're all pleased that already 15 minutes into this, your top's off and sweating away. So it's going to be you're going to put a lot of effort in today. It's great to see that this is all going on. We're up to 120 participants on at the moment, and we know that will grow throughout the day. Mark, anything else at this stage that you can help the guys with? You can plan ahead.
No, I think we're in good shape. Do you want to? I was going to chuck up besides this to see the running order today, but I wasn't organised enough. Do you want to tell everyone, if they didn't see on social media, what the game plan is? Have you got that?
Yeah.
Got that info to hand, actually?
Bear with me.
So hopefully there's an opportunity for people to zone out, zone in, do what they want during the day, whatever makes the miles go by, and keep pushing it out on social media. If you use it, that you're doing it today. The big mile hunters, I mean, it's a big stint for anyone. So, if you've not spoken to friends about what you're doing, then take that opportunity for sure. You can get a few more pounds in the pot for Doddy. But we do also have this cracking lineup of guests, and that's not too formal. It really isn't. It's a fireside chat. We try and treat it like they're riding along on their bikes next to us. So Nashi will kick things off, and then it's absolutely anyone, and I do mean anyone, can pitch in if they want to.
Absolutely, and that's when to use the reactions. I'll try and keep an eye, as I said. If I see a hand going up, we can jump in. Sorry, I'm just trying to get. I think Keith might help me with the slides as well. But the first guest on at 8 a.m. is Ali McCoist for our rallying team talk. So we're excited to that.
Probably 8 a.m.
We're hoping 8 a.m. and he said he'd be on his bike. So
I assume everyone knows who Ali McCoist is, but I mean, I assume his team talks are legendary. I don't know if anyone's got first-hand experience, but I'm quite looking forward to see what the man's got to say about a double century on a bike.
Yeah, see if he's going to take on the full distance.
He's going to impart.
Then 9 a.m. So we've broken the day into sections, and the graveyard shift, as we say, we've got then Stuart Hogg, Scotland captain, on at 9 a.m. Now Stuart's got a game later on today against Worcester for Exeter Warriors. Exeter Warriors, not the Warriors. anyway, for Exeter. So he'll be on for 10, 15 minutes just to give a bit of background on what he's going through at the moment and the upcoming Six Nations. And then it's on to Dame Catherine Granger at 10 a.m. So we've got a busy morning lined up. Then throughout the day, we have other guests joining us, including JJ Chalmers at 12 p.m. Jill Douglas and the team captains are hopefully going to drop in between sort of 1 and 2. Jason Fox at 2:30. He'll be on for a chat about his life, and he's been doing Doddy Aid and racking up the miles as well. I think he's been on the roar a lot. 4 p.m. Luke and Tom Stoltman, the strongest men, his world's strongest brothers. They're coming on, and Tom was recently came second, the world's strongest man. 5 p.m. Jenny Faulkner. Jenny will be jumping in. She's a very keen runner. She also hosts the Running Pod, so she's spoken to many guests over the years that are used to doing long distances. So hopefully we will get some motivation and advice from her on how to get through and endure these miles. Gavin Hastings joining us. Will maybe be a bit of Lions chat then for the tour that probably won't go ahead. I don't think that's been announced yet what's happening there, but Gav will get involved with a bit of chat, rugby background, Doddy stories throughout the day. And then 6:30, Andrew Cotter. Hopefully he'll have his famous dogs on camera, Mabel and Olive, but we'll get a chat with Andrew Cotter at the end of the day. And catching up throughout with Mark and Rob when we can. Davey of Team Edinburgh is on. He's riding with his MND team. So we'll be dropping in and out. There will be lots of chat, guys, but we understand at several points you'll be looking to just get your head down and get through these miles. So maybe you can set your alarms, you can set your day up on who you want to hear or who you want to chat to. As Mark says, a fireside chat. Let's make this as interactive, and it's for you guys to get you through it.
I'm keen to hear a bit of context from Davey, because if everyone on their bikes right now hasn't heard Davey's story, then I think he's the only team captain who's not a former rugby player. So he's representing. He's got a very different story. But last year he got on his bike to ride the North Coast 500, and he's brought back his team to all try and do the mighty 240 today. So I'm keen to get Davey's story and also to understand exactly what his friends are thinking of this madness.
Yeah, morning, Mark. I'm sure all the boys who are sweating away on one of the different Zoom screens here will be keen to tell everyone how they're feeling throughout the day.
Is it? I mean, last year with the North Coast 500, that was a big step up for you. You'd, I could see the prep and the planning for that. That was a big dream to take on that ride. What were the challenges? I mean, you're somebody facing MND with an incredibly fighting spirit, but it doesn't seem to be slowing you down much.
No, thank you, Mark. Yes, I got diagnosed. For people who don't know me, I'm a team captain. But I got diagnosed with motor neuron disease in the year after Doddy, so in 2018. And it's been a difficult few years, of course, for me and my family, because as you know, from all the fantastic work that the charity are doing. But the stark reality is that the average lifespan from diagnosis is only 2 years. But lucky for me, unfortunately for Doddy, do that, we're on the right side of that 50%. So we've been taking life even more seriously ever since that day I was diagnosed, trying to squeeze every ounce, every drip of enjoyment and achievement out of it. So last August, we with a group of brothers and a few friends, all on the call right now, we cycled around the North Coast 500 in only 4 days for the big man Doddy. And in doing so, Mark was incredibly inspirational and gave us some brilliant advice in the lead up and during our campaign. But we managed to raise 125 grand for My Name's Doddy Foundation and drive a lot of awareness. But coming back to the cycling of it, I was a bit of I liked a few sprint classes. I was a sportive cyclist before fair weather cycling really. But the North Coast 500 definitely made a man out of me. But as Mark said earlier, the longest ride I've ever done, which I thought before was quite impressive, 135 miles, which I did in my training last summer. So 240 today. I'm very much going into the unknown.
You'll do great, Davey. You'll do great. And you can thank your brother. He's probably listening. He's dragging us on. I'm in a very unusual situation for those that have ever ridden with Tom Leaf. I am behind him, not in front of him. He's one of the most adept wheel suckers I've ever come across, but I'm enjoying a very rare treat of being behind Tom Leaf. And also Keith Oddie, there's a name from my rugby past, Orkney boy. He's in our little pod as well. And I'm just trying to work out who everyone else is, but pleasure to be cycling with you all. And sweating heavily. I've just had a little surprise as I pulled my t-shirt to mop my brow. My wife's left a cream egg on the stem of my bike and a wee message saying good luck.
That's
so,
nice.
Anyone jealous?
Yeah, my wife's in bed. She didn't get up.
My wife's in bed and she will be for a while, but she had the forethought to put it out last night.
That's nice.
Rob, you might have seen on the behind the scene WhatsApp that there's chat that you're powering all the electricity on call today. How is life on call through lockdown?
Well, we've been extremely lucky to have the freedoms we do, albeit we have, we're following the rules, but we are allowed to have a pint in the hotel garden. Now, I hear awed silence from the crowd there. You can remember having a pint at a hotel, but
is that not sadly coming to an end? I saw the Western Isles was going into Tier 4.
That we're not the Western Isles, luckily.
You're not the Western Isles? Where are you then?
No, we're the Argyll Islands.
Wow. Okay, so are you literally the last part of the United Kingdom that's allowed to go to the pub?
I wouldn't like to say I hope so. Obviously, there's a certain smugness you can hear in my voice. But
and this is obviously a pub you're not barred from.
I've been here 21 years now, and for 4 weeks I was barred from it. But forever, my name will be associated.
The people don't forget.
The rugby pitch.
The people don't forget.
I'm sad to say it's my top Google entry, I gather. So
it's quite limiting when there's only one pub on the island. It's not like in Edinburgh if you get barred from a bar.
I know. It was a great fight though. It was worth it.
It's territory. It's on. It's some of the most challenging conditions we have seen today. It's high drama and high speeds. These guys are going 40 knots and 8 knots of breeze.
Somebody's going fast. We're up to 126. 126 participants, guys. Well done. This is fantastic. We'll just try this now. If we try has anyone got a Doddy story? Has anyone had an interaction with Doddy? Anyone want to put their hand up, participate just quickly before we let you get your heads down until Ali McCoist arrives?
Sounds like Stephen Baird's playing pool there.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's the voice of a man who's comfortable on his bike.
It's insurmountable technical challenge.
Mark, one thing that I like to know, just eating throughout the day, if there's anyone here that this is maybe their first long distance, the eating, the planning, do you just eat when you're hungry, or should you be timing things, or how should you kind of attack this?
Yeah, definitely try to preempt that. You don't want to think of breakfast, lunch and dinner. You want to think about grazing. You want to think about having a little bit and often. And it's amazing how that catches up with you. You're not pushing through you're not smashing it. So it's very easy to get 6-7 hours in before realizing that you've run out of fuel and you're dehydrated. It's much harder when you're doing these sort of relatively slow endurance miles to stay on top of that stuff. So you kind of need to just force yourself from the start and then that pays dividends later in the day. But I mean, the pacing parts is genuinely difficult because the very first time we ran World in a Day, we did it for real. In those good old days when we could go for bike rides together. And we rode from Argyll to Aberdeen, 240 miles across Scotland. And I remember everyone trying to set out like an absolute train. And that first hour or two in the dark, in the rain, just with the excitement and the, you know, people wanting to get stuck into it. And it takes real discipline to actually pull on the reins and realize that, you know, what you feel like 10 hours in is something that you've not maybe experienced before. So, yeah, it's actually harder when you're on your turbo or in your garage on your own to pace that effort. But you just settle into it and realize that it's not like a normal ride where it's over in an hour or 3 or 4 hours. You just need to settle into it, spin the legs, graze all day long, and just try and, because you're not having to ride a bike technically, you're not having to focus on the bike handling here. Just, you know, get stuck into the event. The miles will take care of themselves.
So now I'm going to do a quick shout out. I can see that Mel Nichols is on. Mel, are you there?
I'm here. Hey, good morning.
Good morning, Mel. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Yeah, how are you doing? Early start?
I am certainly fine, and I got to say I do feel guilty sitting here trying to sort of keep things going, keep chat and conversation going when you guys are putting in such a big effort. But Mel,
have you been for a jump in the sea yet this morning?
I haven't this morning. I'm trying to keep kids out of this room and all that sort of stuff. That they're up already running about the house. But Mel, part of Team Exiles, you've been very active. You had a good month so far?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been
Could I ask Stephen Baird? I think we're picking up quite a lot of audio off you, Stephen. If you could go on to mute. Stephen, if you hear that.
Mute that man.
But Mel, yeah, I've seen you've been active throughout the month.
Yeah, I mean, you know, normally I'd be training anyway, but actually, particularly during lockdown, it's a really good focus, isn't it? You know, it's tough for everybody, so to have a really good reason to get through those miles, to put the work in has been really good, and it's been so social through the community, sort of through social media and everything, getting friends involved, linking up with people virtually. So it's been a fantastic challenge.
No, it's awesome. And how have you taken to your vice captaincy role?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it for sure. It's nice to feel important, you know, with no racing and no sort of work to go out to. It's nice to feel that I've got a job to do.
Good on you. Good on you. Mel, we'll check in throughout the day. Great to see you.
Cool, thank you. You too.
Actually, I'll pipe in here and say that Laura and Mel have been fantastic as the ladies co-captains down in the Exiles team, and really a big thank you in public, Mel, for all your work, and huge respect that you're cycling with your hands while we're using our big old legs. So well done, and we look forward to chatting with you through the day and seeing your cheery smile.
It was interesting on the Sunday ride. So if people are new to this, on Sunday, so Chris Hoy himself is leading a 50-kilometer ride, and Mel, sort of most people treat that, and I do say most, as a social ride. Some people bury themselves, but Mel shared her stats after last week, and if you're pedaling a 50k on a hand bike and trying to keep up with the peloton, you know, she was zone 5 maxed out for 50k. I mean, she basically treated that like a 50k time trial, which was pretty phenomenal to see the stats of a Paralympian keeping up with and a part of the peloton over a ride like that. Mel, somebody who's, you know, raced track, raced marathon distance, and has the Land's End to John O'Groats hand bike record. Yeah, pretty amazing to see the numbers that you have to push out to get that thing up to speed and hold the speed. Pretty amazing. I've ridden actually with Mel a few times, and because you're so close to the ground, she's pretty dangerous on the descents. It's quite hard to keep up with her. It's like an arrow, like a bullet. But you know, inevitably on the uphills, that's your arms doing all the hard work, which is just staggering to see. I should mention, Nashi, I've made you the host, so you're the games master. You you're the controller now.
Master of ceremonies. Yeah. No, Mark, I've got chat from Keith in the back office. Everything's going smoothly. The live feed, everything's working. This is going as planned so far. So we're on track.
On the because this is going to grow as the day goes on. We've got 130 odd folk riding already, which is fantastic. It's going to go up to 200-300 at points. If there are, very, very, very rarely are you on a Zoom call with 200 people. So don't be offended at all if Nashi has to mute because of background noises and stuff, and then bring you back in. And it does work, but just make yourself obvious if you want to chuck some thoughts or questions in, because just so everyone can actually hear, sometimes Nashi needs to mute and unmute accordingly.
Yeah.
Just one question here. What kilo would you recommend riding at for the whole duration of this ride?
What is that a Zwift question? What?
Yeah.
I mean, right now I'm tapping along at just over 2. But I can imagine Rob and the guys are trying to get this finished and are sitting at something a bit higher than that.
Okay, thank you.
Peter Ferguson, young man, how are you? How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 14. It's my birthday today, turning 50.
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Where are you? Where are you based?
Balerno in Edinburgh.
Balerno. Well, great to have you involved. What got you involved? Are you a keen cyclist?
Yeah. I'm part of ERC. Just really enjoy cycling.
Good. And are you going for the full day, or what's the plan?
I'll go for as long as I can. I'm aiming for 100 miles, and if I can get any more, that's such a bonus.
Good. Who's that at the door listening in, having their breakfast? Are you proud, Mum? Are you proud of him? Birthday boy.
Thank you.
Peter, well done. Keep in touch throughout the day. Keep going.
Thank you.
What a way to spend your 15th birthday. I don't know if anyone else we're doing on their 15th birthday, but I'm sure I was riding 100 miles.
Any other questions for Mark? Peter, any other questions for Mark?
No, thank you. Not at the moment, but I'll ask if I get any more questions.
Okay, keep in touch.
Thank you.
And all I would say, that century, that 100 miles that you're fixed on at the moment,
yeah,
it's just a number.
Yeah.
It's a great number, but it's just a number. Like, mile 101 is no harder than mile 99. Just treat it like it's not there. Just ride your bike. Don't focus on the numbers. The miles will take care of themselves, because
Thank you. Thank you.
If you get obsessed with 100, when you get there, you'll stop. Where if you just ride your bike, you might go further.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that.
Good on you.
Thanks.
Stephen's smiling at me as if I'm a liar. I've coached him through a few of these, but actually he knows what he's doing. How many 240s have you done now, Stephen? 4?
I done all 4 last year, and then stupidly tried to do it outside solo, and back for more, gotten for punishment, you might say.
Good on you.
Stephen was famous for finishing the ride. Normally when you get to 240 miles, you get off your bike, you go, oh, thank God that's over, and you go and have a bath. Whereas Stephen turned around and said, nope, I've told my wife and I've told my kids that I'm in this room until 8:30 or 9 o'clock or whatever, 9:30, and I'm not leaving. So even after 240 miles, I think you've got like 4 kids next door, Stephen, and the idea of a few more miles on the bike, like, this is my time.
That's dad life, they call it, Mark. That's dad life. Time on your own, away from the kids.
I would agree with that. After the 2 months I've enjoyed, in inverted commas, just having some time on the bike reduces one into a zen-like state of relaxation. And I was just, as Peter Ferguson was chatting there, Mark and I once met for a ride over in Calpe in Spain. And every day we used to come back to our hotel along the waterfront ride. And one day there were some temporary lights and I stopped. And this wee kid of about, I don't know how old he was probably about 10 or 11, came up next to me on his bike, and the lights went green, and whoosh, off he went. And I always, being a competitive body, I took the challenge and chased him, and we had an epic ride in to town, and I could not believe the power this wee 10-year-old was putting out. So I naturally asked his name, which I've, of course, being old and rugby battered brain, have forgotten. But I'm going to remember Peter Ferguson, because you come across these names and you think nothing of it. And I hope you're listening, Peter. We may be looking at the next Geraint Thomas, or the next Cav, or the next Mark Beaumont, or you just don't know. And I remember my mother telling me about this crazy guy from Persia who was cycling around the world on his own, called Mark Beaumont. How many years ago was the first ride now, Mark?
1 or 2. Was it the first one?
Yeah. Oh well. And look where he's got to now. So long Peter Ferguson is a name, and we're expecting great things, Peter.
Rob, I'm going to throw in another name. I can see a young man cycling. I think it's with his dad. They both seem to be having breakfast. Is it Alan? And if you take the mute off, guys, who have we got there having his breakfast?
Hiya, this is Micah.
Good morning.
He's 10 years old and having his order of apple Danish.
10 years old. And Micah, are you a keen cyclist? You are. What are we thinking of mileage today, Dads? What are we looking at?
He did the 150 in June. I stopped him. I thought, that's enough. He's quite annoyed at that, so he says he's going to do the full 240 today.
Wow. Wow.
Respect.
Lots of respect. Lots of respect. It's great to see the two of you, Peter and Micah, guys. Good luck for today. Keep going. Get the hands up for questions if there's any guests on that you want to speak to.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, Mark, is now a good time, do you think, just for this first session? Let some guys get some miles under their belt, and then we'll prepare. I'll jump on if there's anything that comes up between now and Ali McCoist. But we'll just keep going.
Providing the music there, Nashi, are you, or is that just a bit of feedback?
I think that was whatever Oppo A5 2020 is. That was that popped up. Just remember, guys, to try and keep on mute if you can, especially when the guests are on, and we'll get you in an interactive if anyone has questions as we go.
I've got a question for Mark, given my wife's present to me. Is the cream egg considered, the meal of choice for the endurance cyclist, Mark?
It's an interesting way to start the day, because if you start on something super sweet, then I often find through endurance, this is a very serious answer to a very fun question. You actually crave savoury. I know it sounds daft, but you think you're just going to eat Mars bars all day, but actually on big endurance rides, you just crave something a bit more savoury. But I mean, a cream egg is certainly going to kick-start your day. I think it's going to turbo boost your first 50 miles. So you'll be flying. You might fall off the back of it. You might have a sugar crash. But how does your day look, Rob? Because I think you need to go and do some farming in the middle of the day and then come back to your bike. How are you going to pick up your miles?
Yeah, we're ripping along. We're 47 minutes in and done 17 miles. So I'm hoping to get a wee bit ahead, and then probably after Catherine's on, I'm going to have to jump into my waterproofs and head out and feed the farm. The sod's law. We've had months of awful weather, and I think today's looking like another cracker of a day. As with many people in Scotland, I think down in England it's a different story, but it's not the weather you want when you're stuck on an indoor trainer all day, is it? But it'll be good to pop out. I'll have to take a couple of hours out there to feed the farm, and then come back and catch up. So I may be finishing a little later than 8 o'clock, I suspect.
I think it's reassuring for everyone. If you really pace your miles, don't worry about it, because we'll leave the virtual peloton running. Because we're starting the event at 6 o'clock, not 4 o'clock. There was some concern by some that they wouldn't finish in time. Don't worry about that at all. Okay, we'll stay live. We'll stay on until everyone's finished.
And Mark, will you be breaking your day up into 3 or 4 hour shifts, do you think?
I mean, my classic, my normal is 4-hour stints. I think what I'll probably do today is flex it a little bit around the guests. Definitely want to hear, Catherine Granger and then Jason Fox, who are sort of popping up bang on when I would be grabbing a wee break. So yeah, I'll do at least 4 hours, and then see where we are with the guests, and then jump off at a good point. But it does wonders. And you know what? Because you sweat so much in indoor kit, if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable halfway through the day, just chuck some new bib shorts on, get changed, change your socks, just little things like that make a big difference to feel a bit more comfortable on the bike.
I think I saw John Hall out there. He popped briefly up. John, are you enjoying yourself, are you? John Hall was my opposite number for England in my beginning of my career. He's so much older than me that we only overlap briefly. But in one of the comedies of life, my smart trainer is a little squint, and I always have to prop it up. And there's some old rugby magazines that I prop it up with. And we got a message for Doddy from John Eales a couple of days ago. I'm currently on John Eales. He is the cover of the old magazine that's balancing up my leveling my trainer. And John Hall was the cover before, doing an epic. It was a 3-shot picture of him tackling Gary Armstrong in the 1994 Calcutta Cup to prevent Gary scoring the winning try. So thanks a lot for that, John. I almost cussed there, but we've got younger viewers here. But that was the game where we were ahead into the final minute, and I was off by then. I broke my collarbone. No, I broke my cheekbone actually. Or Doddy's nose and my cheekbone were broken by Pete Walton in one tackle, and he was tackling Kieran Bracken, so that's quite an impressive tackle. But John Hall prevented us winning with his tackle, but we were ahead from a Gregor Townsend drop goal. And then the hand of God, it was not a hand of God moment, but in England's benefit this time, where Rob Andrews' hand scoops the ball out of a ruck, and the England shirts had blue cuffs on them, and Lindsay McLaughlin, his name embedded in my memory forever on after, thought it was a Scottish hand and gave them a penalty, and Mike Callard won the game on the final kick. So anyway, but that was yesteryear. John is out there somewhere, quietly listening to me rabbit on, and you'll be happy to hear that you're not propping up my turbo this week, but John Eales is.
Rob, can I just touch on that? John Eales and the likes getting involved with shout-outs and helping promote Doddy Gump, but the reach that this event, the Doddy Gump, has gone round the world with the Hollywood superstars, athletes, rugby players, you must be a bit blown away by the impact that it's had.
It's been amazing, and it's been amazing on many levels. One would like to joke that one has traction with people like that. No bother. But believe me, it reassures everyone that for everyone that bites eventually, and often it takes a while, at the fly, offered them, 90% don't. So there's a lot of unreplied WhatsApps and emails, but a lot of people have, and generally it's contacts that get you in, and we're very lucky to have Ewan McGregor's brother, Colin, he's probably in the peloton today. He's a bit of a fitness nut, more of a runner, I think, than a cyclist. But he got us access to his brother. And I said, have you got anyone else's contact details? And he said, yes. so we got Gerard out of him. But that was a good find by Mark. He put us in touch with them. But it's just, I've always thought these events work on two levels of whatever it's called. You know, what is it called? Remind me, Nasty. My brain's in cycling mode. Levels of connection. You know, like Kevin Bacon, the 5 levels. Separation.
Separation. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think these things work on 2 levels of separation. You can tell people, and they can tell their people, and they don't really go viral until those 2 people away start telling their people. And that's always the challenge. But the strength we've had this time is that we've had this amazing team of people that have said, yeah, there's another crazy plan from Rob. You know, they don't always come off, believe me, but they've done their bit. They posted their videos, and the key difference this time has been we've got the most amazing grassroots network of support, which I think has been particularly obvious in the North and Midlands, where the phenomenal showing from communities, and a community is a great way to get the word out. Rather than it just coming out over the airwaves above, it's coming from around you at grassroots, and the assets that the Oddie has now, because ultimately those 2 things I've discussed, having the big names shouting down, having the grassroots down at the bottom spreading it out, they only work if the cause is the good one. And Doddy, we can all sing his praises, but he's a remarkable human being. And I think one of the most telling moments of the last 4 weeks, however long it is, has been him and Lorraine Kelly when he was on her show. Lorraine, very kindly, she's in the North and Midlands. She has a house in Dundee that she's very frustrated she can't get to at the moment, but she had him on, and to see 2 warm, attractive, magnetic characters like Doddy and Lorraine, these out of a pod, they're people that other people want to spend time with, and that is why this event is working, is that we have a figurehead like Doddy, who's not just a really nice person that people want to spend time with, but he has inspired, and I know inspired is a very overused and hackneyed expression, but in this case it is so true. He's inspired us with his courage, as has the likes of Davey, another man who's facing down his diagnosis and just pushing his life in spite of it. But incredible people. But Doddy's other great thing is his humour, and I think that's what we all love. A guy that can not only laugh at the devil when he's been confronted by an enemy.
Hello.
But continues to laugh with us.
Running slightly behind schedule as I have rearranged the gym a bit.
Stephen McGoldrick. Hello, Stephen. Stephen McGoldrick.
McGoldrick, zip it.
Yeah, could you go on mute, please?
Nancy?
Yes.
You've got control.
I've got control of that.
You just kindly.
So I do. So I do. Done. Rob, you still with us? You still there?
I'm still there. Okay. It won't be the first time I've been interrupted by Steve McGoldrick. Morning, Steve. Good to have you aboard.
Mark, I was going to jump in after that. Has Rob ever suggested something that you've had to say, that is just too out there, Rob? I don't think that one's going to fly.
No, I think, it's interesting, Rob's big background in rugby, but for me, it's the adventurous spirit. It's the instinctively stepping forwards, not stepping back. When you have an idea, putting your shoulder into it, and I think it's something that Doddie's got and Davey's got. You just have a real camaraderie with people who just have a sense of mischief, a sense of adventure, regardless of what the sport is. It might be on your bike. One of the last lockdown adventures we could have, which Rob alluded to, was over on the West Coast, where I was doing a bit of filming, and it was one of those ideas that grew arms and legs. I said, well, I want to do this trip in this film where we drop in and climb a Monroe, and then the idea was to take the ferry to Mull from the Ardnamurchan Peninsula. And then I thought, no, wouldn't it be much better if we could row a boat to Mull? And Rob's the sort of person that says, yes, let's row a boat. Why would we get the ferry when we could row a boat? And, I get a lot of, I don't know, it's like that sort of childhood mischief. People, surround yourself by people who just sort of have a sense of, where does that path go? I think in life, regardless of your sport, regardless of your poison, it's just fun to be surrounded by people who are up for, staying safe, but up for having proper adventures. And I think that's when you can transcend your sport or transcend the thing that you enjoy and find kinship. Rob's always up for a daft challenge, as are so many people on this call. I mean, crikey, you wouldn't have got out your scratcher at 5:30 in the morning to jump on a turbo trainer for over 100 miles if you didn't have that sense of mischief about you. So I applaud that. It's a very good character trait to have in life.
And just through lockdown, Mark, we'll touch on, I know you cycled every street in Edinburgh with Harriet, your daughter, during lockdown number 1. You're doing a lot of gravel riding now and other adventures. You're just sort of keeping busy and night riding.
Yeah, and that's the other truth about this. I'll come back to that in a second, actually, but I think Rob only thought up this Doddy in like the middle of December. So we're only like a month and a bit on from that. So to have 25,000-30,000 people involved and a community really does, I think, yes, it's a reaction to the cause for sure, and I'm not playing that down at all, but I also think it's a very personal reaction to lockdown and having a sense of purpose and well-being. This is not easy, excuse the pun, but these are hard miles right now in terms of where you are in family life and work. So I think actually doing something genuinely difficult and having a bit of routine and having the arrows going that way again and trying to help the community, in this case, the Doddy community, is actually selfishly quite useful for all of us, during lockdown number 3, when life can be difficult. We're missing that connection with people. So not to be too somber and serious, I genuinely think the power of something like this is also a personal reaction to people just wanting to do something useful and do something difficult in a time where we're all locked down. So I do think there's two equal and opposite positives to stuff like this. Yes, we can raise a lot of cash and the money will go a long way, but personally, it's also something which just gives you a bit of a sense of identity, a bit of sense of I'm doing something difficult. We're not just wishing time away during lockdown, which is why I applaud all of you for getting on your turbo trainers at 6 in the morning. What was your question? Last year I had a daft idea to try and run every street in Edinburgh with my daughter. She's sitting right here, and it was good fun. Didn't realise Edinburgh was 500 miles of roads, but that took 3 months, just doing an hour a day, and a bike and me running. And this time around, just over the winter, doing a lot of night riding, gravel riding. All my plans for the year are out the window. I was hoping to get over to America and do Race Across America and these big events, but actually, Scott McRae was asking that question privately on the Zoom chat, so I'll just answer that. I genuinely don't know what this year holds. I think that's the same for so many of us, trying to figure out what we're allowed to do and when. So, can't see too far ahead of us in terms of events and travel, but that's why I think it's quite useful to do difficult things and hurt yourself a little bit with events like this, because as I say, it gives you a sense of purpose whilst the future looks a bit unknown.
Absolutely, and you know, the mental health side of things and keeping busy and getting out, and as you say, I applaud everybody that's on their bikes at the moment. It's a fantastic effort. It's brilliant, guys. It's brilliant. We're up to 134. We're over 130 participants on. The live feed is still going across the social media platforms. And within the next hour, Ali McCoist will be joining us to, as I said earlier, rally the troops with one of his team talks. So we'll be looking forward to that. Keep going, guys. It's a great start. And to the two youngsters we've got on, Peter and Mika. Well done, guys. Keep going.
I think I spotted one other teenager in the pack as well. So if there's any other young guns on their bikes, make yourself known. Nashi,
yes,
you've not had an opportunity to introduce yourself. But well, I mean, apart from the day job, what brings you to hosting this? I mean, I know the answer, and some people on the call do, but not everyone.
Yeah, I host a podcast. I host a podcast called Get After It with Nashi. I've hosted it for near on 3 years now. And it's kind of morphed into something. It's maybe I call it a side hustle or a passion project, but it's really turned into something that motivates me and distracts me and keeps me going, because there's a chase of trying to get inspiring guests and people that I maybe think I should never ever have the access to talk to. For instance, this week I spoke to WWE champion Drew McIntyre, who is over in the States but originally from Ayr. So a bit of a household name in America and a proud Scotsman. But to get access to these sort of guys, and he was very passionate about the Doddy project, Doddy Gump and everything he does. But the podcast has led me to here, Mark, and you've obviously been on the show a couple of times and introduced me to some fantastic guests. And that's it's something 3 years ago I didn't know I enjoyed interviewing people, and didn't know that I was more than up for doing things like this when you asked me to do it. So it's that sort of thing that I tried something once and I never looked back. I completely immersed myself into it around running a business in Edinburgh and 3 kids at home and a busy life and things like that. It's following my passion and finding something that, I didn't see coming. It's been fantastic.
So the guest you had on this week, I don't follow. So WWE, which in my day was WWF, World Wrestling Federation.
Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior. That's what I grew up with, and I don't keep that much of an eye on it these days, but I do still keep an eye on what's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the world champion.
It's another world. So I didn't even realise that wrestling, that sort of wrestling, was still a thing. Of course it is. But the fact that we've got a Scotsman who is world champ at the moment, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start that conversation. I looked him up after you mentioned him, and he's got 1 million Instagram followers. You know,
yeah,
he's obviously pretty good at what he does. I still can't get my head around it. Is it? I mean, they've got to be athletes, but they're also actors, because
it's predetermined.
Everything they're doing is choreographed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, the results, so they'll know there's a storyline through the whole show, and it is entertainment. They're not shy about that. And Drew, even on the podcast, says, look, people know it's predetermined. However, when you get slammed into a mat, when you get clotheslined and all these sorts of things, the guys are putting themselves through the mill, and they are proper athletes. There's serious injuries and lots of repercussions to what they go through as athletes. But with Drew, as a 15-year-old boy, he knew early that he wanted to be a wrestler. He was fascinated by Hulk Hogan and all these sorts of people. And as a young man, he travelled 12 hours a day to the weekend, 12 hours to Plymouth, 12 hours back to go to wrestling camp. And his parents backed him. And they said, as long as you get some sort of education, son, you try and live your dream. He got a degree, Glasgow Uni, in criminology. So he's a clever laddie. And at 20 years old, he attracted enough attention that he flew to the States, and within 3 weeks of being in the States, he was on the TV. So his rise to fame was very quick from a young lad from Ayr. He got into that world, and things slightly went the wrong way a little bit, and he got fired by the company, actually. And he had to go back to sort of doing the hard work, and he had to sort of rebuild himself. Came back even stronger, came back as an even bigger personality. And this year, he beat somebody, if anyone follows UFC, well, you might know the story already, but Brock Lesnar is, you would maybe call him an American, not hero, that's the wrong way, but he's an Olympian. He's the real deal. He fights in the UFC, which is certainly not predetermined. But Brock Lesnar's a big character in WWE. Drew McIntyre beat him and became the World Wrestling Champion. So the stories, it's quite inspiring. As Rob said, we throw that around a lot, but from a young lad in Ayr, wanted to do this, and he is currently the champion of the world in one of the biggest sports and one of the biggest viewed sports. Billions of people tune in around the world to every single show, and they roll into an event called Royal Rumble this Sunday. But Drew won the championship during COVID with no fans in the arena at WrestleMania. So for me, when I started 3 years ago to start interviewing guys like that, the Stoltman brothers have been on my show, Jenny Faulkner, Gavin Hastings, Andrew Cotter. COVID actually, with my show, with everyone being at home and lockdown, it opened up a lot of opportunities for me to reach out to people that I never thought I would ever speak to. And one of the first, and I've actually kept in touch with a lot of the guests, but one of the first guys that I spoke to during lockdown was Sean Fitzpatrick. And to approach an All Blacks captain of legendary status, and for him to say, "Hi, Nashi, no problem, I'm not doing anything else, let's have a chat," to get 40 to 50 minutes with people that I grew up with, it's been great. And then it leads me to events like this where I can sit and try and help you guys get through this today. And Mark, you've been a big help to it, so thank you for everything. Can I just tell a wee story? Rob came into my my studio. Rob, you remember coming into my office in Edinburgh for the podcast, and you probably don't even remember this. And this is probably how you make your tea. But I did grow up, and you were Scotland captain, British Lions, so you were a presence when I was a lot younger of the magnitude that you played for Scotland. You came into my office, and I offered you a cup of tea, and I was making it. You came into the kitchen, and you walked up and you said, "Nashi, which cup's mine?" I said, "That one." And you just dove your hand into the cup of tea. You squeezed the tea bag in your hand with the boiling water, shook it off, threw it in the bin, and off you went. And I was like, "Yeah, that's Scotland captain material." It's rare that you see someone squeezing the boiling water of the tea bag out with their bare hands. So that was quite an introduction.
Farmers' hands, they've got no nerves left in them. And my wife will be tutting now my bad manners. So.
Oh, it was fantastic. I've told quite a lot of people that. What was Rob Wainwright like? Well, he drains his tea bag with his bare hands, so it was quite a good one. But no, thank you, Mark. Yeah, guys, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to help as best I can. And as I say, I'll try and get some of the guests. We've got a bit longer with some of the guests than we do with others, but we'll try and get as much out of them as we can. But it's all about trying to get some stories, try to get your mind maybe off the miles, and what your legs are going through. So I'll do my best to keep the conversations flowing as best I can. Yeah, and
fantastic.
Forward to Ali.
Nash, from a cycling point of view, I see they're just flashing over the mix. I see Graham Stewart there. Graham, you're unmuting by the looks of things. You set off at a hell of a pace on your Zwift meetup. How many miles have you got down now, Graham?
Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, we got a great wee group. We've just gone through 44k, so on our second lap.
Fantastic.
So we've got Austin Healy breaking the wind for us. And yeah, we're motoring along. How are you doing?
I'm back with a more social group with Keith Oddy and God. I think we've lost Tom Leaf, which is worrying. But there we go. It's the only climb for those that aren't on Zwift is a wee thing called the Aqueducts, a small climb. But the rest of it's pretty flat. I'm going through vineyards near some village in France at the moment. The weird and wonderful world of Zwift. I moved my whole setup last night so that I was in one of the main rooms rather than in a wee cubby hole like normal. And this is how crazy and how wonderful these social media, because it's kind of another social media Zwift. I've got 7 different things plugged in order to do what I'm doing at the moment. It's just crazy. How much tech there is, but we're very lucky, even though we live on an island, to have a 4G. We had a pilot study on a 4G mast put on call, and it's meant we can do all these things because our broadband's almost non-existent. But it is amazing, and the community that gets put together through things like this, through Doddy Aid, through Zwift, is such a lifesaver in these times when we're not seeing anyone face to face. So, Graham, it's lovely to see you in the face. Graham, I've been sending your picture out to everyone who's been saying, where do we go? And I send a picture, and your profile picture on Zwift, you look like you've come out of train spotting. You look like you've been on the drugs, man. It's a wild picture. Have you got a story behind that?
The profile picture on Zwift is just a particularly windy day. Something you pray for when you've been stuck on Zwift for 2 years. Nothing in particular.
It's very wild-eyed.
The social media side of the Zoom and the Zwift have been great. I'm a bit concerned what's going to happen at 10 because my daughter's got a Zoom ballet class and a tricks and tumbles. So I think her Wi-Fi is going to be heaving under the weight of data.
There's a few other Northerners on the call. So I know Graham's up in maybe the Black Isle way. We've got Ken McKenzie in Dingwall, and Ken, are you on the? Can you hear us?
There
he is. Where is he? Scrolling through my screens. So many people joining us now. So
Mark, we can't hear you very well. I don't know if your mic's misbehaving.
Any better?
That's a lot better. Well done.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think my Wi-Fi is just teetering on the edge as well. The 4 kids will be just about waking up now, so they'll be plugging into Netflix and all the rest of it. But pretty impressive. You've got such good Wi-Fi out in Call.
Well, we don't have any. Yeah, it's all off of 4G mast, but it's a miracle, and it's particularly through lockdown, our life would be radically different without that connectivity, and my social interactions pretty much all on WhatsApp these days, which is bizarre but wonderful.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, just to be able to bring everyone together during lockdown and to give us a bit of just something, a sense of purpose, something to do on a pretty grim Saturday morning. It's good. It's been great. And well done to you guys for pulling it together. I'm saying that now. In about 10 hours, I'll be cursing you.
It was Mark's idea. When you get angry, it was Mark's idea.
Rob, give us a wee update on Call. Remember when I spoke to you, you've got quite a few roles and responsibilities up there.
Actually, just before you answer that, Nikki's screaming and shouting in the background. I keep taking credit for this event, but she's rightly pointing out that it was her idea to bring World in a Day back. So can I just put the record straight? Because otherwise I'm in for a lot of grief.
Come and say hello. Come and say hello, Nikki.
See, she doesn't want to, but you're going to jump up and down in the background.
Good morning.
Morning, Nikki.
So if you think this is a good idea or a bad idea, it's Nikki's fault.
The brains of the operation.
How can you have an idea of it like this and then not get on the bike, Nikki? You ought to do 5 minutes someday.
He hogs the limelight. It's all I try so hard. He's like, no, this is my thing.
Your nose is getting longer.
You know me too well, Rob.
Oh,
Fantastic.
My watch have just cut out. I'm stationary.
I'm shooting through the names.
Yet another magazine.
Yeah. Are you off balance?
Hi guys, just to let you know that my son is a professional wrestler in the UK and he's fought Drew McIntyre up in Scotland a number of times, and he speaks very highly of him as a man and obviously as a wrestler.
Fantastic. What's your son's name?
Yestin Reese.
Yestin. Okay. And what took him into that world?
He wasn't good enough at rugby, no. He was a decent basketball player. Played for Wales under 16th and 18th, captain university, captain Manchester under 20s to national champion. But no, when he came back to Gloucester to be a physio, there was no decent basketball around. He'd been mad on wrestling since he was a little kid, and it's gone from there. And now he's a physio, come wrestler, come bodybuilder.
Fantastic. How do you get started? I mean, pot kettle black, but how do you get started in
he went
career?
He looked at it, wanting to do it, found a wrestling school, went there, and the guys there then obviously take you through the basics of it and the safety. And if they think you're good enough, they then introduce you to shows. And it's then a matter of how promoters of different companies, view you. He's been good enough to try out with WWE, but a few injuries and that forestalled that. But he's fought. So the biggest shows are in Glasgow in the SE, and he's fought in that, and that was like 15,000 people. And he's fought in Germany, Austria, and all over the UK. And as a part-time activity, he loves it.
Superb. I mean, you've got a bit of a Hulk moustache on yourself. Is it something that you've had a go at?
No, I'm very old and very tired, I can assure you. I'm a battered old rugby man.
It's funny though that just a guy like Drew McIntyre making it all the way from a young kid growing up in Ayr. Did that give your son a bit of inspiration to sort of something might just happen here? I might be able to do this.
Well, yeah. To be honest, he had dreams of going to WWE. He's fought in NXT, which is the layer below. To say injuries have been a big issue. He was out for a year with a ruptured patella tendon. And I suppose in some respects, although he's considered very highly in this country, maybe they just didn't like what they see, which is 6'3", 18 stone, 6% body fat. But obviously, I don't know what it is, but he enjoys it still. Well, he's not doing anything at the moment.
That's a bit of the misconception that people think, oh, it's fake and this, that, and the other. But the size of your son running into somebody or getting thrown off the top rope, there's a lot to endure on the body.
They get battered.
Yeah,
trust me, they get absolutely battered. My dear wife, she worries about him all the time. We were actually there watching him when he did his patella tendon, so I think that freaked her out even more.
Yeah, no, it's a full-on sport that the bodies get put through the ringer, but good on him,
Yeah, I'll mute now, and good luck to everybody.
That's awesome. Thanks for jumping in. And that's a great story. That's what we love to hear. But if anyone's ever done any contact sports, as cyclists and runners, and there's no way, to get out of breath as quickly as you do if you're doing wrestling or judo or boxing, it gives you respect for these sports where you think you're physically fit because you can ride your bike, and then within 90 seconds, you can't breathe, you're gasping so hard. It's amazing fun. I remember back at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2014, I got the opportunity to try all 17 Commonwealth sports. And I was in India with in a wrestling camp, and with these guys that were basically taken in. It was their school as well from the age of 7. They lived and breathed wrestling. And again, I thought, wow, I'm fit, I can do this. I could not believe the stamina and strength of these guys. And then I remember getting to Trinidad, and I met the Olympic champion at javelin. And I thought, oh, how hard can it be? You're throwing a stick. And this guy's like 6'5" with long arms, but I'm 6'3" and I can throw a stick. And, for all my for all my strength and effort, you know, I couldn't throw a quarter of the distance he could. And it's not until you go head to head with these world-class athletes that you realise just how good they are, and the technique and the discipline and the years of training. It's the old 10,000 hours that make you professional at something. And it's one thing watching on the telly, it's another thing when you actually have a chance to see these athletes close up. And it gives you a lot of respect for sure. I've seen a couple of comments there. We've got Noah Wilson, 13 years old, Isla Grant saying she's 14. So we've got loads of kids on the ride today, which is superb, absolutely fantastic.
Got a question here for Rob, and actually from Twitter we've got people asking. There are, I think where are we? We're at 138 people cycling at the moment. But we've got a quick. Does Rob remember questioning my parenting skills in a bar in Piazza Nova about 10 p.m. the night before Italy and Scotland game last year? And I was with my 4-year-old. The wee man is still going strong. What happened there, Rob? Oh, we lost Rob. We lost him. He's out tending the sheep.
He's on mute, so you can take him off mute, Nashy.
He's got himself on mute. I can't even find him. Sorry, bear with me. Well spotted.
I'm back. Can you hear me now?
We got you. We got you. Sorry, I was trolling through to try and find you. Did you get that question?
Yes, I heard the question. I was happily answering it. Not realizing I've been muted. Yeah, Piazza Navona, I do remember that, and so many happy memories. I'm sure a number of people, whether Scottish or people like Gareth from down in Gloucester, great to have their support. Well done, Gareth. And we've got a couple of big teams in from Gloucester today. But Piazza Navona, I will respond with a parenting skill riposte, which is we've been going to Rome every 2 years for the Scotland-Italy match. It's a fantastic weekend, and we were talking earlier about community, and it's a great gathering of the rugby community in one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's such an amazing place to go to. You can walk everywhere, and round every corner there's some classical miracle or ruin, or just, it's such a beautiful place. And a great feeling of community when we're on the away match there. But if you go drinking in Piazza Navona, you can spend all your money in a couple of hours. Whereas if you go down a side street 30 yards away, you can be drinking for 8 or 9 hours for the same amount of money. Do I sound Scottish here? And we walked through Navona. I had my kids who were presumably around about 20, 21. And I said, we'll just walk through because it's got a lovely atmosphere, but we'll not be drinking in here. And we were walking around and I spotted Sean Lenine, ex-Glasgow coach and former teammate. And naturally, you can almost hear where this story is going to go. The next thing, we have a tray of 30 limoncellos ordered. And at the end of it all, we had drunk our whole budget, having lectured my kids about it in Piazza Navona. But Rome is such an amazing spot, and we've had some great parties with Doddy there. I seem to remember the SRU Dom Mackay had to pick up the bill for a massive meal that they had there. And we've had so much fun. The first Doddy Gump was an exercise event like this, but it didn't really, it didn't take off like this. But we rescued it with a march through Rome, and I'm sure a number of you will have been at that march. It was an amazing feel to it. And again, it's all just about being part of a big, supportive, happy community, which is an amazing privilege, particularly now in these difficult times with lockdown. So yeah, Piazza Navona, good parenting skills. Don't take your kids drinking there. Drink down the side streets.
Thank you, Rob. Can I have a shout out to Noah Wilson? Noah, I see you there. I've tried to unmute you. How are you, young man?
Good, are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. Where are you based, Noah?
North Yorkshire.
North Yorkshire. And how have you got involved in this event? Have you been following everything, Doddy Gump?
Yeah, big rugby fan, and I've just got into cycling, so it's the perfect event.
Good man. And what are you thinking? Have you got a plan on miles today, or are you just going to see how far you get?
I was aiming for about 100k, but I'm feeling quite good. So.
And what's the plan for what's the plan for eating throughout the day? Have you got a sort of plan ahead, or are you just going to graze gradually, as Mark suggests?
Yeah, just keep eating when I need it, but I feel quite good at the moment.
Have you had a look at the guests that are coming on today? Is there anyone you're hoping to maybe get a chat with or get involved?
Stuart Hogg.
Stuart Hogg, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay. Hoggy will be on at 9 o'clock. So yeah, we'll see what we can do there. Make sure you raise your hand if there's a lot of people on at the time. We'll try and get a question in for Hoggy.
Awesome.
Good man. Keep
Cheers,
going.
Thank you.
Keep going.
You've got some good sports memorabilia on the wall there. What's happening in the room that you're cycling in? Is that rugby strips or?
Yeah, this is cricket shirts. I'm also big into cricket. That's Gary Balance, Yorkshire player.
Superb. Shows how much I know about cricket. So,
glad you took that one, Mark.
Exactly. So, I mean, how do you split your time? Not in lockdown, but cricket will kick off in the coming months if you're allowed to, but then cycling and rugby seeing you through the winter. How do you split your year up?
Yeah, so got a lot of cricket because I've been playing at a fairly high level recently. So spend a lot of summer playing cricket and then try and cycle as much as possible. And then rugby during the winter.
Do you find that, actually, is that chair behind you? Has that got some cricket logo on it or something? Or
yeah, that's got the England logo on. Yeah.
Yes, you're a proper fan. And
yeah.
Do you find that the cycling fitness helps you? I mean,
yeah.
I don't know.
Endurance, yeah.
When I don't even know how to ask a cricketing question. Do you focus on being a batsman or a bowler, or where does the fitness come in? The only time
mainly,
I was told to stand out right at the edge of the field and just stand around and try and catch the ball. I wasn't given any.
Yeah. Bowling wise, it's very good for endurance, and then batting for the mental strength. It's very good.
All right.
Yeah.
Concentration, Mark. You got to concentrate when you're at the crease. So you got the discipline to stay on that bike, the discipline to concentrate while the bowlers are coming in at rates of knots.
So when you say you're playing at a decent level, is that school? Is that county? Where are you at?
Yeah, I've been playing district for North Yorkshire, and then area for our area in North Yorkshire of Hambleton.
Superb. And talking about Yorkshire, did you see that the Brownlee brothers are aiming at a sub 7-hour Ironman?
Yeah,
it's
a big ask, that.
Morning, Mum. Who's he talking to? Who's he got in there? So you're taking on a lot of sports, Noah. Do you have a dream, like a young Drew McIntyre who wanted to be wrestling champion of the world? Is rugby? What have you got a favourite that you do?
Yeah, it was cricket before lockdown, but I've really fallen in love with cycling. So that's probably the dream at the moment.
Well, good on you. And this year, did you just tell your mum and dad you were going to get involved? When did you decide that you were going to do World in a Day?
Last week, actually. I saw it, and I decided, I did a 12-hour ride a couple of months ago, and I decided that I'd try this as well.
Well done. Good on you. There's a few youngsters on at the moment, and there was another name, Mark, you mentioned that I saw.
Can I ask one last question? Because I know that we've got a few Yorkshiremen and Yorkshire women on the thing. There's a few people jumping on the chat there. I have to stick with this Brownlee thing. It's just been announced, I think, this week. This concept, they can go sub 7 hours for an Ironman, which when you break it down is utterly staggering. It's a sub 2.5 hour marathon. It's a cycle at sort of Tour de France stage winning speeds, and it's the swim is just lightning fast. Has anyone got an opinion? Have we got any Ironman or athletes on the Zoom who've got an opinion on this claim that you can go sub 7 hours from these Yorkshire lads from the Brownlee brothers? We must have some Ironman athletes out there.
Alan Joyce has raised his hand. Where's Alan?
And I know for a fact we've got a few Ironman athletes, so drag them into the call. I think it's a fascinating challenge.
Who are they going? Each of them going for the sub 7 hour. How are they doing it?
No, I think straight up they think that they can break the 7 hour barrier, which is
wow.
I mean, it's like the 2 hour marathon. It's like breaking 2. It's one of those things that it would be iconic, but you know, is it possible?
And an Olympic year as well, potentially.
Yeah, well, I wonder if they're doing that as a backup plan for Tokyo being postponed again. It's certainly grabbed the headlines in the last week. As a rubbish swimmer, I can't get my head around it, but it's a staggering claim. But I love these athletes. That idea that, and we try to do it with around the world. You claim it before you do it. You don't leave it to the results. You make these really audacious targets, and you know, you tell the world, you inspire, and then you say, and then you do it. And it's really funny watching on the press this week, going to Alistair and you know the Brownlee brothers and saying, you know, what a claim, what a claim. If you can do that, that will go down in history. But you know, most people, including myself, are scratching their head and saying, I think it's impossible. But those lads have certainly put Yorkshire on the map. Phenomenal athletes.
Mark,
I think that kind of chat as well. Sorry.
No, sorry, Mel.
I think that kind of chat, it kind of it pushes everybody else on, doesn't it? You know, if they're saying, well, if they think this is possible, then it must be possible. So I wonder what someone else could do, what we could do. And that's really exciting about sport, that even just the talk about smashing barriers moves it forwards again.
Mark, I interviewed the Iron Cowboy over in the States who did 50 Ironmans in 50 days across 50 states. And he said exactly what you said there. When he had that idea, and his family, I think he's got 5 kids, he took them all in the family camper van and they went around every state with him and they did the whole challenge together. But he couldn't get sponsors, he couldn't get really backing because everyone said, we're not going to back a failure. And he got the Netflix documentary at the end of it once he completed it and did it. And some controversy through the whole thing, but the guy ran and swam and cycled everything. You know, he did do it, he completed it. And he's just announced he's going to do 100 Ironmans in 100 days. So these people are out there and they put these challenges out. He's obviously set his stall out that he did complete the 50-50-50 and he's going for a bigger one now. But I mean, it's incredible. And the Brownlee brothers, who knows what's possible? It's incredible.
Yeah, it's very powerful claiming it before you do it. We've got Rob Reed on the chat saying, along with Ali and Lucy, also going sub 8. Are they talking about Ironman?
Yeah, so Lucy Charles Barkley, who's another Red Bull athlete, along with Ali, is going to do the female, which I guess they're saying the female equivalent is sub 8. Which
and what's your wisdom on it? What's your wisdom? Do you think, because that's not beating the record, that's a leap in performance.
Yeah, I would personally like to see Ali win an Ironman before he starts trying to, I don't know, set new heights. But
well, I mean, that's been the chat, isn't it? You know, the boys are phenomenal at Olympic distance and sprint distance, but then to extend up to Ironman distance is a completely different thing. And you know, the pace that they're running the marathon at, basically it's 4 10K runs, is hard to maintain. It'll be an interesting one to watch for sure.
When you listen to Ali talk, it's very hard to believe but he won't do everything he says.
Yeah.
He just talks with such confidence. Like, you know, so many of the sorts of greats of sports, from Ben Ainsley in sailing or whatever, just they talk like it's done. It'd be amazing to see.
Yeah. I tried to bring Ken up in Dingwall into the conversation before. I know Ken's done an Ironman. Can you hear us, Ken? If you can, join in this time. So I'd love to get the thoughts from somebody who knows what it feels like, and the thought of going sub-8 or sub-7.
I'm here. I wasn't sure if you'd be able to hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we've got you, Ken. How you doing?
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's just insane. 7 hours, to me, it's just a different... It just seems impossible. It's not to these boys, obviously. I managed to go under 10 once, and that took a lot of, well, huge effort for like a year running up to that. I know somebody else on here who's gone under 9, who's also in the local area, Graham Stewart. So he's probably better, more experienced in this than I am, but I've been doing it for...
There's no chance they'll go under 7 hours. There's no chance of getting under 7 hours. But I think the girls have got a good chance of getting under 8.
So Graham's the guy that, not everyone's on Zwift, I respect that, but Graham's the guy that's been helping me usually set up the Zwift ride, and he knows a thing or two about training. Why do you think that's a bridge too far?
It's just if you do the maths, Mark, you're really looking at, you're going to have to ride over 50 kilometers an hour. Obviously, to start, I mean, you're looking at a sub 4 hour bike split. Well, it's possible, obviously, but then you're looking at a sub 2:30 marathon, and even if you did that, you're leaving yourself only half an hour for a 4 kilometer swim and transition. So, I think 7's the next big number, but I think we're some way off that yet. I think the girls could be tantalisingly close to 8. You know, where the men have already been, I think the women could easily follow. You know, the women's record's 8:17, I think. So it's not a million miles off that, or 15 minutes. But trying to get another 30 minutes when you're already doing a 2:30 marathon and maybe a 4:10 bike split and a 40-minute swim. Oh man, I can't get the maths to work on that one, I'm afraid.
So to join the dots here, in the wrestling world, you have a lot of that fighting talk. You know, ahead of time, people riling each other in terms of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. In a similar sense, what does it do in the Ironman world when the Brownlee brothers, these Olympic distance, sprint distance world champions who haven't even really proven themselves at Ironman before, make a claim like that? You know, does that fighting talk, does that up everyone's game, or do they not take it seriously? What's the reaction been?
Yeah, well, I think it ups the game for sure, because everyone knows how tough they are racing. They've still got a bit to prove there. When they get back to Kona and the World Championships, I think Ali will have a bit of a axe to grind there. But if they race to the potential, you know, if they don't make 7 hours, they can still make phenomenal strides in performance. And you know, like you said, you know, set the target high and don't be afraid. You know, don't set a self-limiting goal.
Well, I can see all your Ironman memorabilia behind you, so you know, I think we all believe what you're saying. It's an audacious target. It's something which is aspirational. Whether it's possible or not, we'll have to see. But it's certainly got people talking.
I mean, the only time you won't be happy with is 7 hours and 1 minute. I think.
I'd be happy with that.
I think we're all jealous of your fan, Graham. It looks like you're in some sort of Timothy advert with your hair. You know, we're all sitting here sweating away, and you've got this perfect setup with air conditioning. I can see it. It's like a.
I know it's his first rodeo.
I don't want to get too hot. Gotta look good for Zoom, haven't you?
Oh, for sure.
Got plenty of time to break sweat later.
I don't have a lot of Ironman experience, but at the very end of my career, I used to, for those of you that are involved with Doddy Aid and have been watching stuff, Craig Joyner has been doing a cold water swim in the Firth of Forth every day this month, an incredible achievement, and raised a lot of money. But his father used to be my fitness coach. He just helped me informally, and I was coming back from an injury, and he invited me along to the pool where he was training with a local boy down in Dunfermline who was a very good triathlete. And we were doing 100 meters in 2 minutes, reps. And I'm 6'5", pretty strong swimmer. And this guy was holding a float with his hands and only using his legs. And I couldn't keep up with him, legs only, for these 100-meter reps. And it just gave me an idea of the step up. And he probably wasn't, you know, I think he was national level. He was an exceptional athlete. I'm not sure his name. But to be beaten roundly again and again and again by someone who wasn't using his arms, when I swim, I'm sort of 75, 80% arms probably, was just gave me a wee insight into quite how fit these guys are.
When we get to 4 p.m. today and the Stoltman brothers come on, getting an insight into the strength that they have and the things that they lift and the speed that they lift these incredible weights. And what's also so interesting to so many people is the amount of food that they eat. The 10-egg breakfasts, going to restaurants, asking for enough to feed a family of 5, these sorts of stories and all these sorts of things. These people, these extraordinary athletes that put themselves at the top of their game on the global stage. That'll be a really interesting conversation later on today, 4 o'clock, with Luke and Tom Stoltman. So yeah, do plan ahead, guys. If you've got queries and questions, you can send them obviously to me on the chat, or you can just join in throughout the day with the guests when they come on.
Is Alan Joyce still got a question, or is he just waving at us still?
He was there. I told her, I said, just chip in. Not sure if he's...
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi there. It pretty much was covered right enough. But I was wondering if Graham saw the NS Sub-2 marathon, and if Alistair Brownlee was going to have that kind of setup, you know, where he was fully supported. And I mean, the 2 marathons, Sub-2 is incredible feat. And the 7-hour Ironman is probably even greater than that. But would it be possible with a similar setup? You know, strong riders, the bike, drafting, etc. Sorry, get out of breath here.
What do you think, Graham? Do you think that's possible if it was sort of laid out, the track was set, he knew what he had to run, where he was going to swim?
Yeah, I think if they set it up so it's a very, very fast bike and they have, you know, teams doing it, so there's drafting, then it could be maybe possible. I don't know if that carries the same level of achievement as the, you know, Ironman's. It's a real solo event, you know. So it's not wouldn't carry the same level of achievement for me, but could you get a bike to roll at fast enough speed in a velodrome with drafting? Maybe you could, yeah. And we still have to run maybe a 2:20 marathon or something, which Alistair probably could do. So
yeah. I don't think he would have claimed, you know, like Mark said, you know, the claim is huge in the whole world. I've seen him claim that he can do it, so he does tend to achieve what he says he's going to set out to do, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and that iconic video of the brother, I forget which one, whose legs went, but getting each other over that finish line.
Johnny's legs went.
Johnny's legs it went. I mean,
Yeah.
it's iconic. You know,
Yeah.
people that haven't seen that, and the two of them together, they're a force to be reckoned with in that event.
Do you mind if I chip in just one last thing?
Of course.
Before Coisty comes on, you're aware he was in a film playing a Celtic player.
I've got this here. I've got
Excellent.
Robert Duval.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
So that was on Wikipedia when I was doing my research. So that's true that he played a Celtic player.
I unfortunately have seen it. It's not surprising it went straight to video.
Oh, did it? It also said that every time he was filmed in the Celtic top, he had his Rangers strip underneath so it didn't touch his skin. Well, see, I was tentatively going to bring that up. It's lots of questions I've got here if the chat stops, but I don't think we'll sort of run out of chat from Coisty.
No, I don't think so. Thanks very much. Good luck, everyone.
Good on you. Good on you.
I'm not sure how chatty he'll be if he's on his bike, of course, Nash. He may be like us, struggling to do the multitask, but it's very, very rare for Coisty to be short of breath and without a word or two to say.
That's it, Rob. I've got Gavin Wood.
Yeah, morning everyone. I'm in West Yorkshire in my attic. It's a question loosely related to the Ironman. I recently watched a 2-part Lance documentary on iPlayer. Love him or hate him, interesting character. I wondered what people's opinion was, to what degree he was sort of hung out to dry as a bit of a sacrificial lamb for that generation.
I watched that documentary with interest. I kind of didn't want to begin with because I'd read, enough books about it, and I just thought I knew the story. And I worried that Netflix documentary Lance would be just him in some way, sort of
being Lance,
or just sort of justifying his story. And I guess at one level it was. It's a very, if anyone watched The Last Dance or any of these big American-style sports documentaries, they're very, very character-led. They're very, there's a very, very strong bias narrative through them. But what did I think? I thought it was a compelling watch. Did it make me more empathetic to what he went through? Nah. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. The fact that he became sort of, you could say, well, everyone was at it, everyone was doing the same thing. He said himself right at the end, he couldn't carry on through life without the truth being known. He had to have I think he called it like the nuclear fallout, he couldn't sort of bumble along with the lies that had propped up his career. He had to have the big lawsuits, the big source out that's happened since then. So I think, it's fascinating because it gives you an insight into an alpha, somebody who is win at all costs. I don't think, I'm somebody who grew up in that generation, inspired by Lance, felt hugely sort of let down and disappointed when the truth came out. But I think as you grow up, you just become a bit more just accepting of the fact that, not nobody's perfect, but he was in a culture and a career where even though he was being a bully and he was being a cheat, he also couldn't tell the truth because his lies were propping up everyone else's. The sponsors, television companies, the entire industry grew around him. He was the pinnacle of that sport, and it was a massive rising tide through the 90s. So it doesn't make me like him or loathe him anymore. It's just interesting to see all the players talk so candidly about what happened and why it happened. And I think a lot of people felt sort of let down, and I get that. But out of that obsession and out of those lies, there's definitely some positives. So you wouldn't wish it again. I don't think it was a positive thing, but you have, the impact that he had with the way cancer care is talked about in the US as an industry, the fact that it became okay to talk about cancer care and diseases and that was a positive thing. So I just think in the real world, life is too complicated to say it's absolutely a good thing or absolutely a bad thing. I mean, he's a massively divisive character. I thought the Netflix did a good documentary in terms of just trying to understand better just how complicated it was. I kind of put off watching it. And when I did watch it, I was left going, well, I don't particularly like the guy, but I understand he was involved in this industry which kind of relied on him.
Yeah. I think when I watched it, I went in. I'd also read a lot of the books and the ones that predated him coming out as a massive drug cheat, and I wanted to dislike him even more. But actually, I think I came on the back of it of having a little more empathy. What didn't come across at all was, he's not contrite at all. Like, he completely lacks any contrition. But then, on the other hand, along with Jan Ulrich, I do think he was sort of, because he was the guy, like you said, he was the pinnacle. He was fought for a good period of time, and on the back of that, he was, a little bit of a sacrificial lamb. And I'm neither love nor loathe him, but I think as a human being and as an athlete to a point, he's a very interesting character. And I agree, he's kind of the embodiment of a kind of alpha male as well.
And I think that whole being the sacrificial lamb, I think he loves that. It keeps him the center of the attention.
Yeah.
So I think if there's any note of, feeling sorry for the fact that the guy has had to carry this, that's in his entire makeup. Every conversation as a professional athlete and in retirement is about making sure that he remains relevant, and that's not a nasty thing to say. That's just a matter of fact. So he's always very, very keen to make sure that he's relevant to the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, that's his opening gambit as well in the documentary, isn't it? That's the opening question about Lance being relevant, and he ponders for a little while, and then answers it. He says, I am relevant, like it or not. Opening gambit, opening line. And I agree, that's his whole MO, is kind of keeping himself in the public eye and sort of Lance Inc. Interesting. If anyone hasn't watched it, and you've already know a little bit about him, it's very interesting. And the first-hand accounts from Hincapie and Tyler Hamilton and the Swan are all very candid, and worth a few hours each time.
I think, Gavin, there's a straight divide between the two halves, and in many ways he is a Shakespearean tragedy hero, isn't he? But the tragedy bit kind of overtook the hero bit as the facts emerge. And there's no doubt that as an athlete and his strength of mind and so many positive features of his character are immensely admirable. But to a degree, those same features drove the other side of things that was, quite the opposite end. And as a person, as you say, he's not contrite. He was happy to attempt to destroy people's lives, to attempt to save his own. None of these things shed him in a good light. And as human beings, I think it repels us slightly. And I was listening to Bruce Aitchison, and I can't remember which guest it was on Thursday night, for those of you who've been listening to the Doddy Aid live streamed interviews, but this important point, how to judge a person. And it was someone like Tom Hanks who said, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. If you want to judge a person as a human being, see how they treat the waiters at the restaurant. And you just know that Lance Armstrong wouldn't even see the waiters at the restaurant, would he? He'd just be completely invisible and unimportant to him. And it is that, bringing it round to Doddy again, at the other end of the spectrum, you have someone like Doddy who will touch everyone's lives as he walks through them, whereas Lance Armstrong just will never have that connection with people, sadly.
Thanks, guys.
No, good to hear from you, Gavin. Keep in touch throughout the day. We've got a couple of minutes now before Ali McCoy joins us, so hopefully he is on time. He's maybe on already. If you are, Ali, I'm going through all the names, but do just pipe up when you arrive if you're watching through maybe Twitter or Facebook at the moment. That's good. George McNee, looking forward to the Stoltmans coming on later. And morning from sunny Devon. So there's people joining us from all over the place, guys. It's great to have you all on board. Well done for getting up and getting on your bikes. It's fantastic to see you all as I scroll through the pages here. Colin McGregor, we'll try and just get you on. Hello, Colin, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Just can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. If Ali McCoy comes on, you may get interrupted, but how are you?
Yeah, no problem. Fine. I just want to say hi, Mark. Hi, Rob. We spoke on WhatsApp. But Rob, we've not met each other face to face. But Mark, I know quite well. So
lovely to see you, Colin, and many thanks for your helps and your introductions and your phone book, your contacts book has been very impressive. But we never want to get caught up too much in these things, and it's just nice to meet you as a person, which is far more important. And I hope you're sweating as much as I am.
Well, I've only just started, so I wasn't quite as committed as you boys getting up at 6 o'clock. So literally just jumped on the bike. So
Colin, what's your day today? We've been talking to lots of Northerners up in the Black Island, somewhere in the north as well.
Oh, yeah. So I'm up in Elgin.
AM Christie's iPad, fantastic.
There's Coisty coming on.
Colin, we'll come back to you.
Yeah, no worries. Ask Coisty about the Buddha Bar in Paris in 1998.
The Buddha Bar in Paris. Coisty, did you hear that? Are you with us, Ali? Do you want to tell us, Colin? Do you want to tell us all about it?
Well, you might have read in the papers around about that time.
Coisty, get that camera a bit higher.
There he is. There he is.
First things first, guys and girls. I'm refusing to get involved in any conversations that might incriminate me, especially.
Did you sign a disclaimer, Ali? Ali, it's great to have you. Can you hear us okay?
I'll let you chat. I'll go on mute.
No, we look forward to hearing about what's the bar. We need the bar name again, Colin.
Buddha Bar. Was it 1998?
I know it well. Just off the bottom of the Champs-Elysees.
Coisty, are you there? Some technical difficulties. So that was the Buddha Bar 1998. That's the first question. See if you'll. Where is it?
Go on.
Morning, Ali. How are you doing?
Doing really well, guys. I'm just having a slight logistics problem, but there we are. I think that's us.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Ali. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
How is
everything this morning?
They've all been on great form. There's been lots of chat. They've been going since 6 a.m. Mark's been telling stories. Rob's been telling stories. We've heard one about you in a Buddha Bar in Paris in 1998.
Best night ever. It was. The best night ever. It was the night before the opening game, the World Cup, Scotland-Brazil. And every Scotsman and Scotswoman, it seemed like the planet was there that night. And I remember the place erupted when Sean Connery arrived in his kilt in the park. But I remember about half an hour to go, the party was in full swing. And I was on stage singing Bruce Springsteen. And I turned round and my backing band was Sir Alex Ferguson, Kenny Dalglish, Ewan McGregor, Sean Connery, and Richard Wilson. And I thought to myself, Bruce Springsteen couldn't get a backing band like this, to be honest with you.
Were you delighted that you were the handsome one? You were the handsome one leading the charge.
I wouldn't go that far. What a night it was. It was absolutely fantastic.
Ali, it's fantastic you're involved in this event. How's Glasgow doing? Leading the charge with Kelly Brown.
He's been brilliant. As skipper's go, he's been brilliant.
Oh,
he's everything we'd expected him to be. And as you can probably hear, when I do a training, I'm not. It's probably the only time in my life I'm not a good talker. So,
what time are you aiming for the 240 miles? When do you think you'll finish?
Christmas Eve, 2026. I said to Rob, I'm working this afternoon, but hopefully if I can get back home, I'll do an hour or so with Rob. I think Rob's on till about 8 o'clock. So I'm hoping maybe squeeze another hour in. I'll do a couple of hours here and then hopefully get another hour in later on after work. How are you guys shaping up? How are you preparing? Is everybody feeling good?
Where's Mark? Mark was leading the charge earlier, giving some advice on nutrition, on everything. I heard you guys on the Scottish Rugby podcast. Ali,
great fun.
We're talking about transfer windows and movement between the teams.
Yeah. I'm afraid the deadline came too quickly for us.
About halfway there.
I don't want to name names, but I would have shipped one or two out. Well,
excuse me. Just over 25 miles in, so I'm halfway there. I'm on my target.
Sorry, you were looking for a transfer of a Beaumont and Hoy to Glasgow.
Oh yeah, I think that would have been a great piece of business if I could get Beaumont and Hoy in and get rid of Gerard Butler from Hollywood and Kenny Logan, who thinks he should be in Hollywood. That would have been the dream move.
Ali, what about the reach that this has got, Doddy Gump, with Gerard, Ewan McGregor, Hollywood celebrities getting involved? It just shows the power of the rugby community, but the people that have got behind this.
It's fantastic. I've got to be honest. I had no idea it would grab the imagination. But then sometimes you underestimate the power we've all got when we can come together, particularly for a cause like this and for a great guy like this. Everybody knows what a great guy Doddy is. So, as I say, it's brilliant. When you think about it, you know, it probably shouldn't be surprising, but I've got to say, I know I'm sharing the opinion of many when I'm absolutely delighted with the amount of people I've got involved and indeed the impact. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. You must have been maybe a few rugby dinners in your time. Have you got any Doddy stories or stories from rugby?
As you can see, recently I've been to a few dinners in my time, never mind rugby dinners. But I've got to say, that's what, when we did the Zoom call, it was brilliant. I reckon the only stories that I could tell about my experiences with the rugby boys, it's only safe to tell them at rugby dinners, because, I mean, us footballers are a soft, timid bunch compared to these guys. I'll tell you that, but nothing. I mean, they can show you a good time. And I go back all the way to, Big John Jeffries was my great pal, still is my great pal. So, and that Grand Slam team, Tony Stanger, down getting the touch in the corner against England. You know, I can still see Scott Hastings' tackle on. I think it was one of the Underwoods. But I even go further back. And my dad took me to Murrayfield, early 70s. Just a wee boy. And I can remember Andy Irvine scoring a penalty, I think, with the last kick of the ball. So I've always loved my rugby. Always loved it. And I think just to cap a wonderful non-playing rugby career, I've got to make it to the Hong Kong Sevens and the Dubai Sevens, and then that'll be me. My non-playing rugby career I can retire gracefully in my non-playing career. That's a part as an example of Hong Kong. I was in Hong Kong a few years back, and David Hasselhoff was there as the halftime entertainment singing Baywatch. So it's quite an event, and you and your band might get up if you can get the band back together. Well, if David can come along and bring some of his ex-workmates with him, I'm sure he'll fill the stadium.
Got some questions coming in, Ali. Got any memories of St Andrews Uni sports dinners back in the late 90s?
Oh, 100%. I've not seen Elaine. Elaine used to organise it up in St Andrews, and she did an absolutely wonderful job. And I used to go up most years, in fact, for the presentation of the awards and the dinner. And it was usually coincided we managed to get a couple of games of golf, whether it was the Old Course or the Dukes, or we get a couple of games of golf. But I think St Andrews is one of these places that every Scotsman and Scotswoman has an affinity for. You know, it's just beautiful place, home of golf, the rest of it. But it's like a wee gem inside our country and East Coast. It's beautiful. So I used to go up there and if it wasn't rugby players leading the astray, it was those students up at St Andrews Uni. What a bunch they were. That was well before royalty arrived, I have to say.
Didn't take much to lead you astray, Ali.
Oh, that's true. You'd probably hear a different story from some of the students, to be fair.
I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe it.
Ali, through your playing career and then on to the managerial career, you must have given a few sterling team talks in your time. Now, we've got 187 people on the Zoom call. Lots of cyclists here going to go 240 miles today. What's the rallying call? What's the rallying call to get these guys through today?
Do you know the rallying call? I'll tell you what it would be. Just to rely and get help from each other and feed off each other's strength and positivity. And clearly, every mile, just have a wee think about the cause. It's as simple as that. And when you're feeling tired, and there'll be lots of times.
Oh, we've lost you, Ali. We've lost your sound. If you can hear me.
Ali, your sound's off.
It's not just me then. Yeah, Ali, your sound's gone. Chat to him.
Someone's put him on mute, that's why.
It's a hell of a story he's telling. I can lip read. Do you want me to try and tell you what he's saying?
He's getting quite animated, but I can't get him to unmute.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to ask here. I've just seen that Austin Healy's on.
Hi.
Morning, Austin.
Can you hear me?
We can, yeah. And is that you? Were you offering to take Ali McCoist to the Dubai Sevens?
Yeah, I'll take Ali to the Dubai Sevens happily next year.
That would be quite a trip.
It's all going pretty well. We've just gone through 50 miles, so that's going quite well.
Good on you, Ollie. Austin, where are you based? Where are you at the moment?
I live down in the Midlands. I can only do. I'm trying to do 100 miles before I have to leave, but I've got to go and commentate this afternoon at Gloucester versus Northampton, and nobody in their right mind wants to go to Gloucester. I'd much rather ride 240 miles.
That's it. That's it.
We've got a few folk from Gloucester in the peloton today. I'm sure you don't mind that, Austin.
I love Cheltenham. They're all based in Cheltenham, mate. We know that.
Guys, can we all see Ali McCoist? He's laughing away and giggling. He's no idea that he's still. I can't unmute. I've asked to unmute him. He's having a great time.
They used to do the same thing to him on the BBC on Question of Sport, just so they could finish the show.
That's it. Question of Sport. I'm going to get him to a few Question of Sport questions at some point, but he's having a great time. So we'll just leave him, and hopefully at some point he realises he can hear me. He's laughing away. Ali, you're on mute. Oh, some man. Now, Austin, thank you for joining us. Doddy stories. Have you got any in the locker that you can tell us?
Sure, there's plenty I could tell from the 97 Lions tour, but most of you have seen most of them on the videos. So I think it was the only room I was actually allowed in outside of my own room on the Lions tour in 97. Doddy was sharing with Rob, I think, and they actually let me in their room to talk, which was very rare. They weren't next door though.
that scene where you're at a meeting and Doddy's questioned about getting caught by the paparazzi in a bar and his dad's on tour.
Yeah, I mean,
to get
I think
Doddy
it summed up some of the stories he told, he can tell, and as well, but turned him into one of the great raconteurs, really, on the speaking circuit. I went and did a dinner with him probably just before lockdown.
Austin, turn your camera down. We're just seeing your ceiling. There you
I
are.
can't really hear you, I'm afraid. Hold on.
There you are.
So, yeah, I've got some really good times. Mainly, we did a dinner in Newcastle, actually, and he made me wear a Scotland shirt for the charity, which is probably about as far as I'd go, actually, for Doddy. That and 240 miles. But, yeah, I remember the 97 tour, actually, and Rob will tell you this, was probably the last amateur tour, I would say, with professional players on it. We had a proper laugh, particularly the midweek team, which I think, Rob, did you captain?
I was captain for one game, and then the captaincy was moved on.
Yeah. But we had a great midweek team. Arguably, I would say, I think Rob will agree, the midweek team was better than the test team. But we never got to play them on a level playing field.
It's harder. I have some amazing memories of my two favourite games of rugby, probably, and they were both very different. Was we'd lost to the Saturday team had lost to Northern Transvaal, and we were playing Transvaal in Ellis Park, which is just it's a fortress, really hard, and it was just a brutal game. But we got the tour back on track again with that win, and that was one of probably the high points of the tour. But in terms of sheer rugby, the Orange Free State game, which I was playing in, but a bit of a spectator because it was the backs and Neil Back doing their stuff, and some of the best rugby I've ever watched. And I actually watched the third test, which I was playing in for the first time ever a couple of weeks ago. And what really struck me was how entertaining the rugby was to watch. And one of the sadnesses these days is that it isn't like that anymore.
Don't know if you remember, Rob, but the third test in Joburg was the only time ever a substitute has substituted himself on without the permission of the coaches.
Let me guess who that might have been.
It was literally the highlight of my career.
I don't remember a huge amount about that third test, and all my memories, which were very glorious on my behalf, were proved unfounded when I watched the video. And I think I tripped up and missed a tackle when Van der Vestes went over. But just about every Scottish back rower from that era will have a story about Van der Vestes and going round them and scoring a try. So I'm in good company.
Oz, great memories. Well, while we've got you on, just a wee bit on. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
Just to follow on the Lions chat. This year we obviously don't know what's going to happen, but any comments or thoughts on Lions 2021?
Well, I'd like to see it played up here. I don't think we can go to South Africa. And I don't see the point the squad going and playing behind closed doors. It doesn't generate any money. It's no fun for the players or the fans. So if we are back up and running in the UK, let's play Japan in Edinburgh. And then the 3 tests, Dublin, Cardiff and Twickenham, or whichever order they decide. Have a few midweek games, maybe play the North, maybe play the Scottish Borders, maybe play Llanelli, maybe play Leinster, and make it a big carnival of rugby over a 5-week period with full crowds, full stadiums. Because I think realistically by June, we could be back up and running. And then we can generate money, give some of that money back to South African Rugby Union and get all the fans together for a party.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we all missed from our era, Austin, I'm sure you'd agree, was the chance for non-test teams to play against touring sides. And sadly, the way the game's changed, it's quite a rare event. The Munsters, the Clonethleys beating the All Blacks. I played for. I think I played against the All Blacks in '93 4 times on their tour for different sides, and it would be wonderful to get a bit of that back and have the small fry taking on the box. Would be an amazing part of that if we could just get the rugby authorities to think in those terms again.
I think it all has to be based, mate, on where you can get fans. If you can get fans, you've got a Lions tour. Without the fans, it's not the same. I don't see the point in it if there's no fans there. Whether it's here or there, wherever it is, there needs to be fans.
Yeah. Without a doubt. Now, I'm going to try and talk Coisty into being heard again. Coisty, can you wave if you can hear me? Right, now, if you look at your box that you're waving at, if you click the icon, click on it, and a wee unmute thing will come up. That's it. You're back.
What I need to do here, guys, I can see Emma Dodds is on as well. Let's get the brains of the Glasgow operation on to help Coisty here.
I'm not exactly the Bill Gates of the Glasgow operation, in case you haven't worked out, guys.
Pipe down, Elon Musk. Emma, how are you?
Morning, how you doing? Thought I was going to go incognito here.
I saw you. I found you. I'm going through the shared screens and everything, and if I see somebody, I'm jobbing it. Coisty's having a bit of technical issues. So, how's Coisty been as a team manager through the whole of January so far?
Oh, fantastic! You know, Coisty's one of my all-time favourites. I can't deny it. It's a pleasure to work with him, and obviously, when I got the call to come on the team, it was a no-brainer. But technology's not a strong point. I'm not going to lie.
Beautifully put, Doddsy.
Coisty, you were telling stories. We've had a few people asking about Question of Sport over the years, and Austin Healy was giving you a couple of digs about Question of Sport. What are the good memories from that TV show?
I remember that wee shit Healy. He was the first one to slaughter me about my weight when I chucked it. For some reason, a little bit unbeknown to me, and visually I couldn't see it. But within a month of stopping playing, I put on 1.5 stone. Now, the nice polite members of Question of Sport, Sue and Frankie, whoever it be, Mark, wouldn't say anything. But I remember that bastard Austin arriving at the green room, shaking hands and said, "Look at the fucking size of you." So I had a fair idea the gloves were off. But to be fair, he was right. And
he's muted himself again.
It wasn't me.
Those fat fingers.
I don't know how I'm achieving this.
Coisty, just to say, we've got 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, a bit of blue language coming in, big man. Let's rein it in.
I beg.
I
do apologise.
He's excited.
I do apologise. However, I'm taking nothing back of that last statement, that last paragraph.
Coisty.
Yes.
Go on, Rob.
Coisty, we can hear you again. You're coming back this evening, and just two points I want to bring in, because some of the best times we've had have been in the green room at Question of Sport, or out in town afterwards, or wherever it is. And after the rugby podcast, we both said how much we miss meeting up with the lads and having a drink and a bit of banter. I mean, it really was quite good fun. The SRU rugby podcast with Al Kellett, yourself, and a few of us. And tonight, hopefully, by the time you get back, I'll be about ready to complete this. So I think we better bring a beer along and do the last 5 miles with a Genius beer to fuel us on our way and do our last rehydration.
Rob, I'll have to inform you, as Glasgow team manager, preparation's been everything to me. And there was a delivery from our good friend Charlie at Genius Beer, and about half a dozen of them went straight into the fridge for the aforementioned final 30 minutes, 10 minutes for this evening, Rob.
Excellent.
So you will be joined. Don't worry about that, my friend. And I've got to say, I take my hat off to all you guys. I mean, 2 foot, oh dear me. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But equally, and I heard Mark on, was it yesterday, one of the calls. Doesn't matter whether it's 5 miles, 10 miles, 15. Everybody's doing their bit, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant to be part of. It really is.
Indeed.
Ali, it's been mentioned in your Wikipedia, and it was also brought up in a bit of chat before you came on. Are you been in a couple of movies, or at least one with a certain Robert Duvall in your time?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I can't believe it. There's B-listers like Gerard Butler giving me stick. Do you know what I mean? Dear me, he was in a movie. I saw him in a movie once, run about with a sword, right? But he's never worked with Robert Duvall. He's never worked with Michael Keaton. I've worked with these guys, and I'll tell you what, it was the most bizarre experience of my life. It really was. We did the film. It was the best time ever. It was 6 weeks doing a shot at Glory, and Robert Duvall was here. Obviously, Michael Keaton played the part, but the camaraderie that we had, because a lot of the guys that made up the team were pro players. Airdrie, Wraith Rovers, Queen of the South. So you can imagine the crack. So the first day we turned up, there's 2 Winnebagos. This big massive one for Robert Duvall, and a kind of wee 2-berth next to it for me. So you can imagine what I'm like. I'm winding all the boys up, telling them after each shot, after each film, I'd had to retire at my Winnebago for half an hour to get cooled down and fanned down. But anybody wanted to come in and fan me down after my filming session. Anyway, I don't need to tell you, within an hour and a half, my Winnebago had been commandeered by 30 footballers, and it turned into a card den, a dominoes den, you name it. So my 5 minutes of stardom with my Winnebago didn't last very long. What the point I'm trying to say, but the film itself was brilliant. I remember we filmed the final at Hampden, and on the Saturday, the Sunday, I think on the previous Wednesday there was a League Cup semi-final. There was 22,000 there. We did the film on the Sunday, and there was 36,000 there to see the film. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And one of the best things, we done it, Palmerston, Queen of the South, the Doonhamers, and the scene was our right back Jimmy Boyle had to play a 1-2 Owen Coyle, get to the byline, cross it, back post, and I had to overhead kick it into the net. So we like this. This will happen right enough. You can see this happening. Anyway, I don't need to tell you. First take, Jimmy Boyle, 1-2, Owen Coyle, ball comes across, overhead kick right in the top corner. And the director, Michael Carante, said, "Cut, let's do that again." Well, I've got news for you. We're still there at 10 to midnight trying to re-achieve it because it didn't happen.
Oh, brilliant. Gosh, that's brilliant. A little bit of housekeeping. I need to interrupt you. For anyone watching on Facebook, Twitter, social media at the moment, this feed will stop.
How are you?
This feed will stop and restart at 8:45 a.m. in time for Stuart Hogg joining us at 9 a.m. So just a bit of housekeeping there, just through the length of time that we can live stream on social media.
And I'd like to take this opportunity and apologising for Austin Healy's language earlier on there as well.
Austin, it was great that I found him because when you went mute, Austin jumped in and we got some good line stories.
I know, I heard them. He's great. Austin's great fun, man.
Actually, for everyone watching, we should say, because we've got 170 odd on the Zoom feed now, but there's also over 100 people now watching on the live streams that we've pushed onto the Facebook page and worldinaday.com. So for those that are not on their bikes, they can always watch it on the overflow, because at points as the world wakes up,
this is probably going to go over 300, which is the max that Zoom can take.
Absolutely. What else we got?
Actually, you were getting the important point about scoring, which was about starting football strip. Was that not right, Nashi?
Yeah, Coisty, just sorry before I interrupted you. That movie you did you have to wear a Celtic top?
Yes, I did.
And is it true? Is your Wikipedia page true that underneath every time you filmed you had a Rangers top underneath?
Absolutely, absolutely. I just think about the effect that top would have on my skin. Come on, it was just a sensible thing to do. I'd on a rather tight fetching small Rangers top underneath this baggy Celtic top. So it's a true story, and a lot of the guys that were in the team, obviously Owen Coyle and boys like that, were mad Celtic men. So the irony wasn't lost in them. They were laughing. It was amusing. I tell everybody the story in the final scene. They always say, "How did you go on doing the film? Did you enjoy it?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "I loved it." I said, "The people were brilliant. Robert Duvall, what a gentleman. Brilliant. Michael Keaton, Brian Cox, first class, all the guys." I said, "I'll tell you where I did struggle though, with the acting bit." And they say, "Where was that?" I said, "Well, in the final scene for Kilnockie against Rangers, I said, I had to miss a penalty for Rangers to win the cup." I said, "That's where the problem arose." I said, "Did 6,418 takes before I missed the penalty." Not quite, of course. Not quite.
And how did that
But it really was.
How did that
Sorry, I was just going to say.
Oh, sorry, Ali.
Sorry. I mean, my claim to fame is we did a Zoom call with Robert Duvall about 3 and he's an absolute gentleman, honestly, a wonderful, wonderful man. And to this day, as I say, anybody that comes in my house around Christmas and New Year, I just direct them to Robert Duvall's Christmas card, which comes in. I say, beat that. So, wonderful man, wonderful man.
How did that opportunity come around to get in, play a part in that movie?
It was Campbell Ogilvie, who was the Secretary at Rangers, and his wife. They knew about it, and they were looking for somebody to play the part of a overweight, has-been footballer. And I don't say I came to mind immediately, but I think I was in the top 3.
A couple of folk dropped out, and you got the call.
Yes, I think Neil Razor-Ruddock dropped out, and then I was next on the line. And I got a phone call to go and meet Robert Duvall at the Hilton Hotel in Glasgow. And you know that way, you're driving over to the Hilton Hotel in Glasgow, and there's at least 30-40% you think this whole thing's a wind up, and Beadle's going to come flying out behind the bar with a camera. Well, there was a strong element of that, me going to the Hilton Hotel, but sure enough, Robert Duvall was there. And we did a very went up to one of the rooms and with a producer, and we did a little kind of screen test thing. And then he didn't say anything. Then he phoned me when I was going up the road, and he said, "Right, you've got it if you want it." And that was it. And it was just, as I say, it was fantastic. Great fun. Great fun. We did a lot of filming up in Crail, up near St Andrews. And Crail was a place I used to go on holiday with my mum and dad when I was a kid. Caravan park up there. So we did filming there and did some of the old course. We did obviously down at Queen of the South, Hampden, Kelly as well at the time. So there was a lot of connections for me. So it was just brilliant fun and something I look back on and great fondness.
It's fantastic, Ali. And just to say, anyone watching on Facebook, Twitter, the social media, that's going to end now. Please do tune back in at 8:45 when those feeds start live streaming again. Ali, you give us a quick